A woman who spent 2 years invisible steps into a Manhattan ballroom wearing emerald silk and a face that shouldn't exist. Gabriel Castile, the man who built an empire on control, doesn't recognize his own secretary until her eyes meet his across the room, and something ancient and dangerous looks back. She's been hiding in plain sight, managing his empire while running from ghosts who slaughtered her entire bloodline. Tonight, the mask comes off. Tonight, the predators circle. And when her past walks through the door with a gun and a grudge, the quiet girl who filed his papers will paint the marble floors red to save his life. If you want to see how far loyalty can burn and how deep secrets can cut, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. Yeshik. The first thing Gabriel Castile noticed wasn't the dress. It was the way she held her spine. 2 years, 24 months of gray cardigans and forgettable shoes, of her head down over spreadsheets while the world's most dangerous men discussed murder in his conference room. Clara Hayes had been furniture. Reliable, silent furniture that organized his empire with terrifying precision and never once looked him in the eye. Until tonight. Leonarden occupied the top floor of a building Gabriel owned through 3 shell corporations. The private dining room held 16 people maximum, each one vetted 6 ways before they breathed the same air as him. The guest list tonight read like a directory of Manhattan's most elegant killers: Russian money, Serbian muscle, 2 city councilmen who'd long since sold their souls for offshore accounts, and Clara Hayes, who wasn't Clara Hayes at all. Gabriel stood near the bar, whiskey untouched in his hand, watching her move through the room like she owned it. The emerald silk clung to a body he'd never noticed beneath those shapeless cardigans. But it wasn't the body that made his pulse kick. It was the eyes. Dark and steady and absolutely fearless as she accepted champagne from a waiter and turned to face Viktor Ivanenko. The Russian underboss was 62 years old and had personally strangled 11 men. He smiled at Clara like a shark scenting blood. Gabriel's jaw tightened. "She is new." Victor's accent rolled thick as he gestured toward Clara. "I do not recall this one from your previous displays." Gabriel forced his posture to relax, rolled his shoulders once. "She's been with me for 2 years. You've met her a dozen times." Victor's pale eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Check your memory, Victor. Clara manages my Eastern operations." The lie came smooth because it wasn't entirely a lie. She did manage the Eastern operations. She managed everything, actually. Every contract, every shipment, every payoff that kept his empire running while he handled the public-facing brutality. "She prefers to stay out of sight." "Then why," Victor said softly, "is she suddenly very much in sight?" Good question. Gabriel had asked himself the same thing 4 hours ago when Clara appeared in his penthouse wearing that dress and informed him, not asked, informed, that she would be accompanying him tonight. The shock of seeing her had momentarily overridden his instinct to refuse. Then she'd spoken. "Viktor Ivanenko is bringing his nephew, the one who's been skimming from the ports in Red Hook. If you want to leverage that information without starting a war, you'll need someone at that table who can speak Old Russian, someone he won't expect." Gabriel had stared at her. "You speak Old Russian." Among other things. The conversation had lasted another 30 seconds before Gabriel decided that whatever game she was playing, he'd let it unfold. He didn't tolerate anomalies in his organization, but Clara Hayes, if that was even her name, had just handed him leverage he didn't know existed. So he'd made a choice that went against every instinct. He'd brought her. Now, watching Victor circle her like prey, Gabriel wondered if he'd made a catastrophic mistake. Clara smiled at Victor. It didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Ivanenko, it's good to see you again." Victor's expression flickered, recognition trying to surface through vodka and arrogance. "Again! Last March, you came to discuss the shipping routes through Newark. I brought you tea." Her voice stayed level, almost bored. "You didn't look at me then either." The Russian's face went very still. Gabriel moved closer, cutting through the space between them with the kind of presence that made rooms go quiet. "Victor, I believe you've met my associate, Miss Hayes." "Associate," Victor repeated. His gaze hadn't left Clara's face. "This is interesting." "Is it?" Clara sipped her champagne. I find most things become less interesting once you actually pay attention. The temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Gabriel watched Victor's hand twitch toward his hip, old instinct from younger, messier days, and spoke before blood could hit marble. "Shall we sit?" The table stretched black and gleaming beneath overhead lighting designed to cast shadows across faces. Strategic, like everything Gabriel built. He took the head seat. Victor sat to his right. Clara moved to Victor's right before Gabriel could position her elsewhere, and something in his chest tightened because that seat put her directly in the kill zone if things went wrong. The rest of the guest filled in. Sergei, Victor's nephew, sat across from Clara looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. 2 Serbian enforcers Gabriel kept on retainer. The councilman. A lawyer whose soul was cheaper than her suit suggested. And Marcus Webb, Gabriel's head of security, who stood against the wall with his arms crossed and his eyes on Clara like she might explode. Maybe she would. The first course arrived. Oysters on ice, champagne mignonette, enough luxury to disguise the fact that everyone at this table had killed someone. Gabriel let the small talk flow around him, weather, real estate, the mayor's latest scandal, while he watched Clara. She ate like she'd been trained, proper grip on the fork, precise cuts, nothing rushed. But her eyes never stopped moving, cataloging exits, measuring distances, reading the room the way Gabriel read a balance sheet. Victor leaned toward her. "You are quiet tonight, Miss Hayes." "I prefer to listen." "And what do you hear?" Clara set down her fork, met Victor's stare with something that made the Russian sit back slightly. "I hear a man trying to decide if I'm a threat or an opportunity." Victor laughed. Actually laughed, sharp and genuine. "And which are you?" "That depends entirely on you," Sergei spoke up from across the table, his English careful and accented. "Uncle, perhaps we should discuss business." "Yes." Victor's smile thinned. "Let us discuss business. Gabriel, the ports, we agreed on 30%. "We agreed on 30% of clean revenue," Gabriel said, "not the additional 15% someone's been skimming off the top." The table went silent. Sergei's face drained of color. Victor's expression didn't change, but his hand moved to his glass with the careful control of a man fighting rage. "That," Victor said slowly, "is a serious accusation." "It's a fact." Gabriel kept his voice level. "The discrepancy started 8 months ago, small at first. But it's grown. Someone in your organization has gotten greedy." Victor's knuckles whitened on the glass. "You accuse my family." "I accuse the numbers. They don't lie. Numbers can be manipulated." "Not mine." Gabriel leaned forward. "I have documentation, timestamps, security footage from 3 separate warehouses. Whoever's doing this has been careful, but not careful enough." Sergei shifted in his seat. "A tell." Gabriel caught it the same moment Victor did. The older Russian's eyes went cold and flat, the look of a man who'd just confirmed a suspicion he'd been nursing for months. "Sergei, you are very quiet." "Uncle, Quiet," Victor snapped. Then, to Gabriel, "This documentation, you have it here?" "I can have it here in 20 minutes. "No need." Victor's hand moved to his phone. "I will handle this internally." "With respect," Clara said, and every eye turned to her. "Internal handling won't solve the actual problem." Victor's stare could have stripped paint. "And what problem is that, Miss Hayes?" Clara dabbed her mouth with her napkin. "Set it down." When she spoke, the words came in fluid, flawless Old Russian, the formal dialect spoken in Moscow's highest circles, the kind that marked bloodline and education and power. Gabriel didn't speak Old Russian, but he watched Victor's face transform from anger to shock to something that looked almost like fear. The entire exchange lasted maybe 40 seconds. Clara spoke. Victor responded, his voice tight. She replied with something that made his jaw clench. Then she smiled, cold and beautiful and absolutely merciless, and switched back to English. "The problem," she said, "is that skimming isn't the issue. It's a symptom. Sergei isn't stealing because he's greedy. He's stealing because he's being blackmailed by the Dimitrov family in Brighton Beach. They have photographs of him with a city prosecutor, photographs that would destroy your reputation and his life." Sergei made a sound like he'd been gutted. Victor's face went absolutely blank. Clara continued, her voice steady as a blade. The Dimitrovs wanted leverage over your operations. They knew Sergei was weak, so they engineered a compromise and have been bleeding him dry for months. You can kill him for it, but that won't stop the bleeding. It'll just prove to the Dimitrovs that your family has cracks they can exploit. How? Victor said very quietly. Do you know this? Because I pay attention. Clara sipped her champagne. And because 3 months ago, I had coffee with Katya Dimitrov at a cafe in Sheepshead Bay. She didn't realize who I was, but she was very proud of her father's new income stream. The room held its breath. Gabriel felt something shift in his chest, recognition mixed with unease, mixed with something sharper. Clara Hayes had just dismantled a Russian underboss's family crisis with surgical precision. She'd known about the skimming before tonight. She'd investigated it. She'd traced it to its source and kept the information like a weapon waiting to be fired. And she'd never said a word to him. Victor stared at Clara like he was seeing a ghost. Who are you? Someone who knows how to fix your problem. Clara leaned forward. The Dimitrovs want money and leverage. Give them neither. Cut Sergei loose publicly. Make it clear he's no longer under your protection. The Dimitrovs will assume you've abandoned him, which means the photographs lose their value. Meanwhile, Sergei quietly relocates to Chicago under Gabriel's protection. You save face, the bleeding stops, and the Dimitrovs lose their leverage. In exchange, you forgive the skimmed funds, and we renegotiate the port split to 35%. Everyone wins. The silence stretched like wire. Then Victor started laughing, deep, genuine laughter that filled the room and made his shoulders shake. Gabriel, where did you find this woman? She found me, Gabriel said, because it was true and because he still didn't know what the hell was happening. Victor wiped his eyes. Sergei, you are a fool and a disgrace, but you are lucky. He switched to rapid Russian, barking orders that made his nephew flinch, then back to English. Miss Hayes, you have made an old man very entertained and very curious. This deal you propose, I accept, under one condition. Clara's expression didn't change. Which is? You tell me your real name. Gabriel's hand tightened on his glass. Clara smiled. Clara Hayes is my real name, Mr. Ivanenko, but I understand your confusion. I used to be someone else, someone who learned Old Russian from her grandmother before she was murdered by men who thought bloodlines could be erased with bullets. She stood, smooth and controlled. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need some air. She walked away before anyone could respond. The door to the balcony closed behind her with a soft click. Victor stared at the space she'd left, then at Gabriel. That woman is dangerous. Yes. You know what she is? I'm starting to. Victor leaned back, his expression calculating. Then you know she is worth more than all of us combined, or she will get us all killed, possibly both. Gabriel stood. Excuse me. He found her on the balcony, leaning against the railing with Manhattan spread out below like a kingdom of lights. The wind pulled at her hair, but she didn't shiver despite the cold. That was a performance, Gabriel said. Clara didn't turn. That was survival. You want to explain what the hell just happened in there? I saved your negotiation. You're welcome. Gabriel moved to stand beside her, close enough to catch her scent, something clean and sharp beneath expensive perfume. You knew about Sergei's situation before tonight. You investigated it without telling me. You speak Old Russian like you were born to it, and you just implied that your grandmother was murdered. He paused. So I'll ask again. Who the hell are you? Clara's hands tightened on the railing. For the first time since he'd known her, she looked uncertain, fragile. Does it matter? It matters if you're playing me. I'm not playing you, Gabriel. I'm trying to stay alive. She finally turned to face him, and her eyes were dark and desperate and achingly honest. I've been running for 3 years. I found you, I made myself useful, and I stayed invisible because invisible meant safe. But tonight, I realized something. What? Invisible isn't safe anymore. It's just slow death. She took a breath. My name is Clara Hayes, but before that it was Alicia Romano. My father was Salvatore Romano. My mother was Elena Volkov, Victor's second cousin, which is why he almost recognized me earlier. And 3 years ago, the Moretti cartel walked into our home in Chicago and executed everyone in my family except me. Gabriel's world tilted. Romano. The Chicago Romanos had been legends. Old money, older violence, the kind of dynasty that built cities and burned them down on principle. They'd controlled the Midwest for 40 years until someone wiped them out in a single night. Gabriel had been in Prague when it happened, but the news had reached him within hours. 17 people dead. No survivors. Except, apparently, one. "You're lying," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Alessia, Clara, whoever she was, pulled something from inside her dress, a small leather pouch. She opened it and held out her hand. In her palm sat a ring. Heavy gold, engraved with a crest Gabriel recognized from intelligence reports, the Romano family seal. "My father gave this to me on my 18th birthday," she said quietly. "He told me it was my inheritance, my birthright. The day they came for us, I was wearing it. I've carried it ever since." Gabriel stared at the ring, at her face, trying to reconcile the quiet secretary with the ghost of a slaughtered empire. "Why tell me now?" "Because the Morettis found me. They know I'm in New York. And when they come, and they will come, Gabriel, everyone close to me becomes a target." Her voice cracked. "I was going to run again. Tonight was supposed to be my last night. I was going to disappear, find another city, another name. But then I saw Victor, and I realized something." "What?" "I'm tired of running. I'm tired of being invisible. I'm tired of letting the people who murdered my family think they won." She met his eyes. "So I made a choice. I stepped into the light. I showed them what I am. And now there's no going back." Gabriel processed that, processed her, the fear beneath the steel, the exhaustion behind the perfect posture. "The Morettis will come for you." "Yes. And they'll come through me to get to you." "Yes." Alessia's expression hardened. "Which is why I'm giving you a choice, Gabriel. Let me walk away tonight. Pretend you never saw me in that dress. I'll disappear, and the threat disappears with me, or, her eyes burned, "or you let me stay. You claim me publicly, make it clear I'm under your protection. It'll be a declaration of war. The Morettis won't back down, but if we survive, I can give you what no one else can." "What's that?" "Everything I know. Every secret my father kept. Every alliance, every route, every piece of leverage the Romanos built over 4 decades. She stepped closer. "I'm not just a secretary, Gabriel. I was being groomed to take over the family. I know things that could reshape the entire eastern seaboard, and I'm offering them to you in exchange for protection, for a chance to stop running, for a chance to burn the Morettis to the ground." Gabriel studied her face, searching for deception, for manipulation. He found only desperation and rage and a wild, reckless hope. He should say no, should let her walk, should preserve his empire and avoid a war with a cartel that had enough firepower to level Chicago. But Gabriel Castile hadn't built an empire by playing it safe. And something in him, something primal and possessive, refused to let this woman walk away. "There's a third option," he said. Alessia frowned. "What?" Gabriel pulled out his phone, dialed Marcus. "We're leaving. Bring the car around. Full security detail." "Gabriel, what are you—" He ended the call, turned back to Alicia. "Here's what's going to happen. We're leaving this restaurant together. We're going back to my penthouse. And tomorrow morning, we're making an announcement." "What kind of announcement?" Gabriel smiled, sharp and cold and absolute. "That you're my fiancée. That Alessia Romano, last heir to the Chicago dynasty, is under my protection, and anyone who wants to touch you goes through me first." Alessia's breath caught. "That's insane." "Yes. The Morettis will The Morettis will think twice before starting a war with me, and if they don't think twice, I'll make them wish they had." Gabriel moved closer, crowding her against the railing. "You want to stop running? You want protection? I'll give you both. But understand something, Alessia. If you accept this, you're mine. Not as an employee, not as an asset. Mine. That means you don't keep secrets. You don't make moves without telling me. And you sure as hell don't walk into Russian negotiations without backup." "I had backup. You were right there." "I didn't know what you were planning." "Good. Neither did Victor. Her chin lifted. You want honesty, Gabriel? Here it is. I've been managing your empire for 2 years. I know every detail of every operation. I've fixed problems before you knew they existed. I've saved you money and leverage and probably your life at least twice. So if you think I'm going to suddenly become some obedient decoration just because you put a ring on my finger, Gabriel kissed her, hard and claiming and absolutely without permission. She made a sound against his mouth, surprise or protest, or something darker, and then she was kissing him back with the same desperate intensity. Her hands fisted in his jacket, his fingers tangled in her hair. The city lights blurred around them. When he pulled back, they were both breathing hard. You'll still run my operations, Gabriel said. You'll still fix my problems, but you'll do it as my partner, my equal, the queen beside the king. And when the Morettis come, you'll stand with me, not behind me, with me. Alessia stared at him. This is insane. You already said that. It bears repeating. Do you accept? She searched his face, looking for the trap, the angle, the inevitable betrayal. Gabriel let her look. Let her see the cold calculation and the burning possessiveness and the simple, brutal truth. He wanted her, not just for what she knew, not just for the power she represented. He wanted her. Finally, Alicia smiled, small and dangerous and absolutely certain. I accept. Good. Gabriel stepped back, pulled out his phone again. Marcus, change of plans. We need to make a stop before the penthouse. Where? Cartier. Tell them to stay open. I need a ring. He ended the call. Alessia was staring at him like he'd lost his mind. We're doing this tonight? She asked. We're doing this right now. By morning, every syndicate from here to Los Angeles will know you're under my protection. The Morettis will have to go through official channels if they want to touch you. And official channels mean witnesses, proof, things that make wars messy. Gabriel offered his arm. Shall we? Alicia took his arm. Let him lead her back inside. The dining room had cleared except for Marcus, who stood by the door with his expression carefully neutral. Sir, Marcus said, the car's ready. Good. Victor's gone? 10 minutes ago. He seemed entertained. He would be. Gabriel guided Alessia toward the elevator. Behind them, Manhattan glittered like a promise or a threat. Alert the security team. As of tonight, Miss Hayes, Miss Romano, is priority 1. Anyone who wants to reach her goes through me first. Marcus's eyes widened fractionally. Understood. Should I notify everyone? Notify everyone. Gabriel stepped into the elevator, pulling Alessia with him. And Marcus, get me everything we have on the Moretti cartel. Locations, associates, financial records. I want to know where they sleep and what they eat for breakfast. By tomorrow night. Sir, that's possible. Make it possible. The elevator doors closed. Alessia leaned against the wall, watching Gabriel with an expression he couldn't quite read. You realize this changes everything. That's the idea. The Morettis won't just come after me now. They'll come after your entire organization, your allies, your operations, everything you've built. Let them try. Gabriel, Alessia. He moved into her space, caging her against the elevator wall. I've spent 10 years building an empire. I've crushed rivals, bought politicians, and made grown men beg for mercy. But I've never had something worth protecting, worth fighting for. His hand came up to cup her jaw. You're not just an asset. You're a weapon, a partner. And as of tonight, you're mine. So yes, the Morettis can come. They can bring everything they have. It won't be enough. The elevator descended in silence. Alessia's eyes searched his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation. She wouldn't find any. The doors opened onto the private garage. Marcus was already there, standing beside a black Mercedes with bulletproof glass and armor plating hidden beneath pristine paint. 3 more vehicles idled nearby, security detail, armed and ready. Gabriel handed Alessia into the car, slid in beside her. Marcus took the front passenger seat. The driver pulled out smoothly, merging into Manhattan traffic with practiced ease. Cartier, then the penthouse, Gabriel said. Alessia's hand found his in the darkness of the back seat. This is really happening. Yes. I spent 3 years hiding, 3 years terrified, and now I'm about to become the most visible target in New York. You're about to become untouchable. Gabriel squeezed her hand. Trust me. Alessia laughed, sharp and slightly broken. I don't trust anyone, Gabriel. I can't afford to. Then don't trust me. Use me. Let me be your shield, your weapon, your empire. He turned to look at her, and in the passing streetlights her face was beautiful and terrible. But understand this. Starting tonight, you're not alone anymore, and anyone who wants to hurt you will have to go through me first. Her fingers tightened on his. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Because I want to. And because something tells me that you and I together are worth more than either of us alone. The car pulled up outside Cartier's Fifth Avenue flagship. The lights were on despite the late hour. A manager stood waiting at the entrance, summoned by Marcus's call. Gabriel stepped out first, then offered his hand to Alessia. She took it, emerging from the car like she was born to it. The emerald dress caught the streetlights. Passers-by stopped and stared. Good. Let them stare. Let them see. Inside, the manager led them to a private room lined with velvet and security cameras. Trays of rings appeared like magic, diamonds and sapphires and emeralds to match her dress. Gabriel ignored them all, pointed to a ring in the corner of one tray. That one. The manager lifted it reverently. A platinum band holding a single diamond, flawless, brilliant cut, 5 carats. Not the biggest, not the flashiest, but perfect. Unmistakable. The kind of ring that announced permanence and power. Try it, Gabriel said. Alessia held out her left hand. It trembled slightly. The manager slid the ring onto her 4th finger. It fit perfectly. Alessia stared at it, at the way the diamond caught light and threw it back sharper. Gabriel, tomorrow morning we'll make the announcement. By noon, the engagement will be in every news feed from here to Chicago. The Morettis will see it. They'll understand what it means. Gabriel caught her hand, turned it so the diamond flashed. You wanted to stop hiding. You wanted to fight back. This is how we start. Alessia's eyes met his, dark and determined and absolutely fearless. Then let's start. Gabriel paid for the ring without asking the price. Money was irrelevant. By tomorrow, this ring would be worth more than diamonds. It would be a declaration of war. They returned to the car, drove through Manhattan with security flanking them on all sides. When they reached Gabriel's building, 60 floors of steel and glass overlooking Central Park, the doorman's eyes widened at the sight of Alicia, but he said nothing. The private elevator carried them to the penthouse, 60 floors up, where the city spread below like conquered territory. Gabriel's apartment was minimal and brutal. Black leather, steel fixtures, floor-to-ceiling windows. No art, no warmth. Just clean lines and absolute control. Alessia walked to the windows, looked out at Manhattan. It's beautiful from up here. It's mine. Gabriel poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed her one. As of tonight, it's ours. She sipped, grimaced. I don't drink whiskey. You do now. He moved to stand beside her. Tell me about the Morettis. Everything. Alessia was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was distant. Christian Moretti runs the cartel. He's 43, Harvard-educated, absolutely psychotic. He took over from his father 8 years ago and immediately started consolidating power. My family was in his way. We controlled too much territory, had too many connections, so he decided to eliminate the problem. How? He bought someone inside our organization, someone close to my father. They fed him our schedules, our security protocols, our safe houses. Her jaw tightened. The night it happened, we were celebrating my younger brother's birthday. 20 people in the house. Christian sent 15 men with automatic weapons. They walked through the front door like they were invited. Gabriel heard what she didn't say. You were there. In my room. I heard the gunfire. I ran. Her voice cracked. I ran, Gabriel. I didn't try to help. I didn't fight. I just ran. You survived. That's not weakness. It feels like weakness. It's not. Gabriel set down his glass, turned her to face him. You were what, 21? 20. 20 years old, untrained, alone. And you survived. Then you built a new life, a new identity. You infiltrated my organization, made yourself essential, and when the time came, you stepped back into the light. His hands gripped her shoulders. That's not weakness, Alessia. That's strategy. And starting tomorrow, we turn that strategy into a weapon. Alicia's eyes shimmered. What if it's not enough? Then we make it enough. Gabriel pulled her close, felt her body against his. You're not alone anymore. Say it. I'm not alone. Again. I'm not alone anymore. Her arms came around him, holding tight. God, I'm terrified. Good. Terrified keeps you sharp. Gabriel pressed his lips to her hair. But terrified doesn't mean helpless. And tomorrow, when we make that announcement, the Morettis will learn something very important. What's that? That hunting ghosts is dangerous. Because sometimes the ghost hunts back. They stood there in the darkness, wrapped around each other while Manhattan glittered below. Tomorrow would bring cameras and questions and enemies circling like sharks. But tonight, for the first time in 3 years, Alessia Romano wasn't running. She was preparing for war. And Gabriel Castile, the cold, untouchable king of New York's underworld, had just made her his queen. Morning came like a threat. Gabriel woke to the sound of his phone vibrating against marble. Alessia was still asleep beside him, curled into the black sheets with her hair spilling across the pillow. The diamond on her finger caught the early light streaming through the windows. He answered without looking at the caller ID. What? Marcus's voice came through tight and controlled. We have a problem. Gabriel slid out of bed, moved to the windows. Central Park stretched below, joggers already dotting the paths like ants. Talk. Someone leaked the engagement. It's already hitting the gossip sites. TMZ has photos from Cartier last night. The caption reads, Mystery Woman Snags Manhattan's Most Eligible Bachelor. Marcus paused. Sir, we were supposed to control the narrative. We still do. Send out the official statement. Full background. Alessia Romano, Chicago legacy, my fiancée. Make it clear this isn't some random romance. This is a merger. That'll trigger the Morettis. That's the point. Gabriel watched a cloud pass over the sun, watched the park fall into shadow. Anything else? Viktor Ivanenko called. 3 times. He wants to meet. Tell him noon, the usual place. He sounded concerned. He should be. Gabriel ended the call, turned back to the bed. Alessia was awake, watching him with those dark, calculating eyes. It started, she said. Not a question. Yes. She sat up, the sheet falling to her waist. In the morning light, she looked younger, more vulnerable. Then she spoke, and the illusion shattered. How long until Christian knows? He probably already knows. The question is what he'll do about it. Alessia reached for her phone on the nightstand, scrolled through screens with practiced efficiency. Her expression didn't change, but Gabriel saw her jaw tighten. We're trending on Twitter. Someone posted a theory that I'm a Russian spy trying to infiltrate American organized crime. Close enough? My mother was Russian. My father was Italian-American. I'm just a ghost trying to stay alive. She set down the phone. Victor wants to meet, doesn't he? How did you... Because Victor's smart. He recognized me last night, or at least recognized the family resemblance. And now he's wondering if allying with you means allying with the Romanos' legacy, which means allying against the Morettis. Alessia stood, wrapped the sheet around herself. He's going to ask for insurance. What kind of insurance? The kind where I prove I'm worth the risk. She moved to the windows, stood beside Gabriel. He'll want proof that I actually know what I claim to know. That I'm not just a survivor with a famous name. He'll test me. Gabriel studied her profile. Can you pass his test? I spent 15 years learning my father's business. I can recite every major operation the Romanos ran from 2005 to the night they died. I know which politicians we owned, which judges we bought, which cops looked the other way for the right price. Her voice went flat. I know where 37 bodies are buried across 4 states. Literally buried. So yes, Gabriel, I can pass his test. Then we go to the meeting, together. No. Alessia turned to face him. You go alone. I stay here. Absolutely not. Gabriel, if I show up, Victor will think I'm running the show, that you're my puppet, that undermines everything we're trying to build. She moved closer. You need to go alone. You need to make it clear that I'm your partner, not your handler. That this alliance is your choice, not my manipulation. Gabriel caught her wrist. And what if Victor decides you're too dangerous? What if he calls the Morettis himself, tells them where you are? He won't. Victor's many things, but he's not stupid. The Morettis are expanding. They're hungry. They're exactly the kind of organization that'll turn on the Russians the moment it's profitable. Alessia's fingers traced the line of his jaw. Victor knows that. He knows that backing you, backing us, is a hedge against future threats. But he needs to believe you're in control, not me. Gabriel wanted to argue, wanted to keep her in his sight where he could protect her. But she was right. Showing up to a negotiation with Alessia attached to his hip would make him look weak. Fine, but you don't leave this apartment. Marcus stays with you. Full security detail. I'm not a prisoner, Gabriel. No, you're a target. There's a difference. He released her wrist. Until we know how the Morettis are going to respond, you stay locked down. Non-negotiable. Alessia's eyes flashed with something that might have been anger or might have been respect. You're enjoying this. The control. I'm ensuring you stay alive long enough for this plan to work. And what happens when the plan works? When the Morettis are handled and I'm no longer a target? Do I get to leave the gilded cage? Gabriel smiled, cold and possessive. You're never leaving the cage, Alessia. You just get to help design it. She should have been angry, should have fought back. Instead, she laughed, sharp and genuine. God, you're a bastard. Yes. I think I'm starting to like you. Don't. Like implies trust. Trust gets you killed. Gabriel moved past her toward the bathroom. Get dressed. Marcus will bring you everything you need. And Alicia? Yes? Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Define stupid. Anything I wouldn't do. That's a dangerously broad category. Gabriel closed the bathroom door on her laughter. 30 minutes later, he was in the back of the Mercedes with Marcus beside him, cutting through Manhattan traffic toward a restaurant in Tribeca that served as neutral ground for conversations that couldn't happen in public. The kind of place where the owner was paid enough to forget faces and the security cameras had convenient blind spots. The statement's out, Marcus said, scrolling through his tablet. Every major outlet picked it up. The Times ran it as Manhattan power broker Gabriel Castile to wed Chicago legacy Alessia Romano. Forbes is already speculating about what it means for East Coast operations. And the Morettis? No official response. But our sources in Chicago say Christian Moretti had an emergency meeting with his captains this morning. 4 of them flew to New York on a private jet an hour ago. Gabriel's hands tightened on his knees. When do they land? Already have, LaGuardia, 40 minutes ago. They're here. Gabriel processed that. 4 captains meant Christian was taking this seriously, meant the threat was real and immediate. Alert the security team at the penthouse. No one gets within 100 yards of that building without being vetted. And I want eyes on every known Moretti associate in the city. I want to know where they eat, sleep, and breathe. Already in motion. Marcus set down the tablet. Sir, if I may? You may. Miss Romano, how much do you actually trust her? Gabriel looked out the window, watched the city blur past. I don't trust anyone, Marcus. You know that. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Gabriel turned back to his head of security. She's dangerous. She's brilliant. And she's got more reason to hate the Morettis than I do. That makes her useful. Whether it makes her trustworthy remains to be seen. And if she's playing you, then I'll handle it. The same way I handle everything else. Gabriel's voice went cold. But until I have proof she's a threat, she's under my protection. That's not negotiable. Are we clear? Crystal. The car pulled up outside the restaurant. Gabriel stepped out into morning sunshine that felt too bright, too exposed. Marcus moved beside him like a shadow. They walked inside. Victor was already there, seated at a corner table with 2 of his own security standing at careful attention. The Russian looked older in daylight, tired, but his eyes were sharp as ever. Gabriel, Victor gestured to the empty chair. Sit. We have much to discuss. Gabriel sat. Marcus remained standing. Victor, you seem troubled. Troubled is generous. I am calculating whether our partnership just became catastrophically expensive. Victor leaned forward. Alessia Romano, the ghost of Chicago. You bring her into the light and expect no consequences? I expect consequences. I'm prepared for them. Are you? Christian Moretti is not a man who forgives. He eliminated an entire bloodline to secure Chicago. And you think putting a ring on the last survivor's finger will deter him? I think it makes the cost of touching her higher than he's willing to pay. Victor laughed, bitter and sharp. You are either brilliant or suicidal. I have not yet decided which. Does it matter? The engagement is public. The deal is done. Nothing is done until blood is spilled or avoided. Victor's expression hardened. I need to know what I am buying into, Gabriel. I need to know if this woman is truly worth the war she will bring. She is. Prove it. Gabriel had expected this. Alessia had called it. What do you want? Victor pulled out a folder, set it on the table between them. Inside this folder is information about a shipment the Romanos moved through Chicago in 2019. High-value merchandise. The kind that makes or breaks organizations. I want to know the route they used, the contacts, the distribution network. If your fiancée knows what she claims to know, she can tell me. Gabriel didn't touch the folder. And if she can't, then she is a liability, a ghost with a famous name but no substance. Victor's eyes went cold. And liabilities, Gabriel, have a way of disappearing, even the ones wearing pretty rings. The threat hung in the air like smoke. Gabriel stood. I'll get you your answers. By tonight. Tonight is acceptable. But Gabriel? Victor's voice stopped him at the door. If she cannot deliver, if she is playing games, you will handle it. Not me. You. Because if you do not, I will assume you are compromised. And compromised partners are bad for business. Gabriel didn't answer. Just walked out into the sunshine with Marcus at his heels. In the car, Marcus spoke first. He's serious. I know. If Miss Romano can't provide those details, she can. Gabriel pulled out his phone. She has to. He called the penthouse. Alessia answered on the first ring. That was fast, she said. How'd it go with Victor? He wants proof. Specific proof. There's a shipment from 2019, high-value merchandise through Chicago. He wants the route, contacts, distribution network. Silence on the other end. Long enough that Gabriel's chest tightened. Alessia, I'm thinking. Her voice was distant. 2019, high value through Chicago. God, that could be 3 different operations. Maybe 4. I need details. Gabriel opened the folder Victor had given him, scanned the contents. October 2019. Originated from a port in Montreal. Destination listed as multiple urban centers. Total value estimated at $40 million. More silence. Then, oh God. You know it? Yes, I know it. Alessia's laugh sounded strangled. That was the Volkov operation. My mother's family coordinated with my father to move luxury vehicles, stolen European cars, through the Canadian border into Chicago, then redistributed them to buyers in 6 different cities. It was one of the biggest operations my father ever ran. Relief hit Gabriel like a fist. Can you give Victor the details? Every single one. Route, contacts, distribution points, even the names of the drivers. My father made me memorize it because he said it was a masterclass in logistics. Her voice steadied. Tell Victor I'll have a full breakdown ready by this afternoon, complete with documentation if he needs it. Documentation? I kept backups, digital files on an encrypted server. I couldn't bring myself to delete them. A pause. I told you, Gabrielle. I'm not just a survivor. I'm the heir. I know everything. Gabriel felt something shift in his chest. Not quite trust, but close. I'll tell Victor. Stay put. Security stays tight. Gabriel? Yes? Thank you for believing I could do this. He ended the call before he could say something he'd regret. The Mercedes carried them back through Manhattan. Gabriel stared out the window, processing. Alessia had delivered, just like she said she would, which meant Victor would back their alliance, which meant they had the leverage to face the Morettis, which meant this was really happening. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Gabriel answered. Yes. A voice he didn't recognize, male, calm. Mr. Castile, my name is David Chen. I work for Christian Moretti. Gabriel's blood went cold. I'm listening. Mr. Moretti would like to extend his congratulations on your recent engagement. He's always believed in the sanctity of marriage. Tell him I appreciate the sentiment. He'd like to tell you himself. He's invited you to dinner tomorrow night. Private venue. Just the two of you. A pause. He was very clear that Miss Romano is not invited. This is a conversation between businessmen. I'm sure you understand. Every instinct Gabriel had screamed trap. And if I decline, then Mr. Moretti will be disappointed. And Mr. Moretti's disappointment tends to have consequences for everyone involved. The voice stayed pleasant, professional. He'll be at Cipriani at 8 p.m. tomorrow. A table under the name Chen. He hopes to see you there. The line went dead. Gabriel stared at the phone, felt Marcus tense beside him. Sir? Christian Moretti just invited me to dinner. That's a trap, obviously. Gabriel pocketed the phone. But it's also an opportunity. He wants to talk before he makes a move. That means we still have time. Time for what? To prepare. Gabriel's mind raced through scenarios, angles, threats. Get me everything we have on Cipriani. Floor plans, exits, security protocols. I want to know every person who works there and everyone who's eaten there in the last month. And I want our best people positioned before I walk through that door. You're actually going. Of course I'm going. Declining would show weakness. And if Christian Moretti smells weakness, he'll strike immediately. Gabriel leaned back. But I'm going prepared, and Alessia stays locked down until this is over. They reached the building, rode the elevator to the penthouse in silence. Alessia was at the desk near the windows, surrounded by papers and 2 laptops. She'd changed into black pants and a white shirt, practical, businesslike. The diamond on her finger looked almost obscene against the severity of her outfit. She looked up when Gabriel entered. I've got everything Victor needs, route maps, contact lists, distribution schedules, even photographs my father kept of the vehicles pre-shipment. She gestured at the papers. It's all here. Good. We'll send it to him within the hour. Gabriel moved to the windows, looked out at the city. Christian Moretti called. Alessia went very still. And? He wants to meet. Tomorrow night. Cipriani. Just the two of us. It's a trap. Obviously. Then you can't go. Gabriel turned to face her. I don't have a choice. Declining makes me look afraid, and fear is blood in the water. Alicia stood, moved toward him with controlled fury in every step. Gabriel, Christian doesn't just kill people. He makes examples of them. He's creative, brutal. If you walk into that restaurant, I'll walk out again, with Marcus and a full security team positioned throughout the building. That won't be enough. Christian's smart. He'll have planned for security. He'll have exits you don't know about, weapons you can't detect. Her voice cracked. He'll kill you, Gabriel, just like he killed my family. Then I'll die fighting. Gabriel caught her shoulders. But I won't die hiding, and I sure as hell won't let him think he can intimidate me with a dinner invitation. This isn't about intimidation. It's about control. Alicia's eyes blazed. He's testing you, seeing if you'll dance when he pulls the strings, and by going, you're proving he can make you move. By going, I'm proving I'm not afraid of him. There's a difference between bravery and stupidity. Not in my world. Gabriel's grip tightened. In my world, you show strength, or you show weakness. There's no middle ground. And if I don't show up to this meeting, every syndicate from here to Los Angeles will know that Christian Moretti made me blink, that I hid behind security instead of facing him. That weakness will cost us everything we're trying to build. Alessia jerked away from him. Then take me with you. No. Gabriel, You are the target, Alessia. The entire point of this meeting is to separate you from me, to make you vulnerable. I'm not giving him that. So you'll walk into his trap alone. I'll walk into his trap prepared. There's a difference. Gabriel checked his watch. We have 24 hours. That's enough time to turn his trap into ours. How? By doing what he doesn't expect. By bringing leverage he can't counter. Gabriel pulled out his phone. Marcus, get me a meeting with the chief of police. Tonight. I don't care what it costs. Alessia stared at him. You're bringing law enforcement into this? I'm bringing witnesses. Christian can't kill me in a public restaurant with half the NYPD watching. He's brutal, not stupid. Gabriel smiled, coldly. If he wants to have a conversation, we'll have a conversation. But it'll be on my terms, not his. The afternoon blurred into preparation. Marcus coordinated security while Gabriel made calls to every contact he had in city government. By 6 p.m., he had commitments from 3 councilmen and the deputy commissioner to be dining at Cipriani tomorrow night. Not at his table, that would be too obvious, but visible, present. Enough to make murder inconvenient. Alessia worked beside him, assembling the documentation for Victor with the kind of precision that spoke of years of training. She didn't speak much, just moved through the information like a machine, cross-referencing files and photographs, until the full picture of the 2019 operation sat documented and undeniable. At 7 p.m., Gabriel had the package couriered to Victor. At 7:30, his phone rang. Victor's voice came through pleased and slightly surprised. "This is impressive, very impressive. Your fiancée knows her business." "I told you she did." "Yes, you did, and I confess I had doubts." A pause. "Those doubts are gone, Gabriel. You have my support. Whatever the Morettis bring, you bring my organization with you." "Appreciated. One more thing." Victor's tone shifted. "Be careful tomorrow night. Christian Moretti is not a man who forgives, and he is not a man who bluffs. If he invited you to dinner, he has already decided how the evening ends. Make sure you decide differently." The call ended. Gabriel set down the phone, found Alessia watching him from across the room. "Victor's in," he said. "I heard." She moved closer. "That doesn't make tomorrow any safer." "No, but it makes the aftermath more survivable." Gabriel reached for her, pulled her close. "If something happens tomorrow, don't. Alessia, don't make this a goodbye speech. Don't give me contingency plans and emergency contacts. Just," she pressed her forehead to his chest, "just come back. That's all I need. Just come back." Gabriel's arms wrapped around her, held her while the city darkened outside and the weight of tomorrow pressed down like gravity. "I'll come back," he said. He hoped it wasn't a lie. That night, they didn't sleep much. Alessia curled against him in the darkness, her breathing shallow and uneven. Gabriel stared at the ceiling, running scenarios. Every angle, every threat. Christian Moretti wanted him at that table for a reason. The question was whether Gabriel could turn that reason into leverage or whether he was walking into an execution disguised as diplomacy. Morning came too fast. Gabriel dressed in a suit that cost more than most people's cars. Black, tailored, with enough presence to make a statement. Alessia helped him with his cufflinks, her fingers steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Marcus will be here with you," Gabriel said. "Full security detail. You don't open the door for anyone. You don't leave this apartment. You—" Alessia kissed him, hard and desperate and absolutely final. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. "Come back to me." "I will. Promise me." Gabriel cupped her face. "I promise." He left before he could change his mind. The day dragged. Gabriel handled business from the car, making calls and checking reports while Marcus coordinated the security team for tonight. By 6 p.m., they had people positioned at Cipriani. Waitstaff who owed favors. A chef who took Gabriel's money. 2 city councilmen confirmed for tables near the entrance. By 7 p.m., Gabriel was in position, seated at a table in the center of the restaurant with sightlines to every exit. Marcus stood against the wall 10 feet away. Around the room, 4 more of his people blended into the dinner crowd. At 7:55, the door opened. Christian Moretti walked in like he owned the place. He was younger than Gabriel expected, 43 but looking 35, with dark hair graying at the temples and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He wore a suit that probably cost double what Gabriel's did, moved with the kind of easy confidence that came from never being told no. Behind him, 3 men in matching suits. Bodyguards, professional, alert. Christian's eyes found Gabriel immediately. He smiled, walked over. "Gabriel Castile. Finally we meet." Christian extended his hand. Gabriel stood, shook it. The man's grip was firm, controlled. "Christian, thank you for the invitation." "Thank you for accepting. I wasn't sure you would." Christian gestured to the chair across from Gabriel. "May I?" "Please." They sat. The bodyguards positioned themselves nearby. Marcus's posture went rigid. Christian ordered wine, expensive, French. When it arrived, he poured 2 glasses with careful precision. "To new partnerships," Christian said, raising his glass. Gabriel didn't drink. "We're not partners." "No, not yet." Christian sipped. But we could be. That's why I wanted this conversation. Before things escalate unnecessarily. Escalate. You're a smart man, Gabriel. You know what you've done. You've claimed Alessia Romano, made her your fiancée, put her under your protection. Christian's smile never wavered. That's a bold move. Some might say reckless. Some might say strategic. Strategic. Christian leaned back. Tell me, what's your strategy here? You take the last Romano, wave her like a flag, and expect what? That I'll just accept it? That I'll let the daughter of the man who fought me for Chicago walk free? I expect you'll recognize that touching her now comes at a cost you're not willing to pay. And what cost is that? War. With me. With my allies. With everyone who's decided that your expansion ends at the Hudson. Gabriel's voice stayed level. You wanted Chicago. You got it. But New York isn't Chicago. And I'm not Salvatore Romano. Christian's smile finally faded. No, you're not. Salvatore had honor, principles. He believed in the old ways. You? Christian gestured dismissively. You're just a businessman playing gangster. You think money and leverage make you untouchable. But let me tell you something about being truly untouchable, Gabriel. It requires a willingness to lose everything, to burn it all down if necessary. Do you have that? Do you want to find out? I think I already know the answer. Christian set down his wine glass. You won't risk your empire for her. When I come, and I will come, you'll weigh the cost. You'll realize that protecting one woman isn't worth losing everything you've built, and you'll step aside. You're wrong. Am I? Then prove it. Christian leaned forward. Here's my offer. You give me Alicia. I promise her death will be quick, painless, a kindness, really, compared to what she deserves for surviving as long as she has. In exchange, I leave your organization alone. No war, no conflict. You keep your empire. I get my closure. And we both move forward. Gabriel felt rage rise like bile. That's not an offer. That's an insult. It's reality. The girl is dead either way, Gabriel. The only question is how many bodies pile up alongside hers. Christian's eyes went cold. Choose wisely, because if you choose wrong, I won't just kill her. I'll dismantle everything you've built, every operation, every alliance, every dollar you've ever made. I'll erase you the same way I erased the Romanos. And when I'm done, no one will even remember your name. Gabriel stood. We're done here. We're done when I say we're done. Christian didn't move. Sit down, Gabriel. We haven't finished our conversation. Yes, we have. Gabriel buttoned his jacket. You wanted to know if I'd blink, if I'd fold when you showed strength. Now you know. The answer is no. Alessia Romano is under my protection. If you want her, you go through me. And if you try, I'll make you wish you'd stayed in Chicago. Christian stood slowly. Around them, the restaurant went quiet. Diners watching. Waitstaff frozen. You're making a mistake, Christian said softly. No, I'm making a choice. There's a difference. Gabriel turned toward the exit. Christian's voice followed him. She's not worth it, Gabriel. She's just a ghost with a name. And ghosts don't last in our world. They disappear. They always disappear. Gabriel kept walking. Marcus fell in step beside him. They made it to the door. To the car. To the relative safety of bulletproof glass and armed security. Only then did Gabriel let himself breathe. That went well? Marcus said dryly. Gabriel didn't answer, just pulled out his phone, called Alessia. She answered immediately. Gabriel? I'm fine. I'm on my way back. What happened? He made his offer. I declined. Now we prepare for war. Gabriel, I need you to do something for me. I need you to make a list. Every safe house, every weapons cache, every resource the Romanos had that the Morettis don't know about. Everything your father kept hidden. We're going to need it. Silence. Then, you're really doing this. You're really going to war for me. I already told you, you're mine. That means I protect you, no matter what it costs. Gabriel stared out at Manhattan blurring past. So yes, Alessia, I'm going to war, and we're going to win. He ended the call, leaned back against the leather seat. Across from him, Marcus cleared his throat. Sir, if Christian moves against us... When? When he moves, not if. Gabriel closed his eyes.
We have maybe 48 hours before he makes his play. We use that time to fortify, to prepare, to turn every advantage we have into a weapon. And Miss Romano? She stays locked down. Maximum security. I want her in a safe house by tomorrow morning. Somewhere the Morettis don't know about. Somewhere even I barely know about. She won't like that. I don't care. She stays alive. That's non-negotiable.
The car pulled up to the building. Gabriel stepped out into the night, rode the elevator to the penthouse with his pulse finally starting to slow. Alessia was waiting at the door. She took one look at his face and pulled him inside. "Tell me everything," she said. So he did. Every word, every threat, every moment of the conversation that had just declared war on one of the most dangerous cartels in North America. When he finished, Alessia was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke. "My father used to say that the Romans had a phrase, alea iacta est. The die is cast. It meant the moment when you cross a line and there's no going back. Your point? The die is cast, Gabriel. We're past the point of no return. Christian won't stop. He'll come with everything he has. And when he does, one of us won't survive. Then we make sure it's him."
Alessia's eyes met his, dark and determined and absolutely fearless. "I have something to show you, something I've been holding back." "Show me." She walked to the desk, pulled out a locked case from underneath, opened it with a key she wore around her neck. Inside, a hard drive, small, encrypted. "This," Alessia said, "contains every piece of leverage my father collected over 30 years. Every dirty secret, every compromising photograph, every recording of deals that should never have been recorded. Politicians, judges, cops, criminals, everyone he ever needed to control. He kept it as insurance, as a nuclear option if anyone ever came for us." Gabriel stared at the drive. "Why didn't you use it when the Morettis attacked?" "Because I was 20 years old and terrified. Because I didn't know how to weaponize information like this. Because I was running, not fighting." Her voice hardened. "But I'm not running anymore. And I've spent 3 years learning exactly how to turn this into a weapon. So if Christian Moretti wants a war, we'll give him one. But it won't be fought with guns. It'll be fought with secrets, with leverage, with every piece of ammunition my father left behind." Gabriel took the drive, felt the weight of it, the potential. "This could change everything," he said. "That's the idea." Alessia moved closer. "But using it means exposing people, destroying lives, starting fires that might burn us too. Are you ready for that?" Gabriel looked at her. At the woman who'd hidden in his shadow for 2 years. At the ghost who'd stepped into the light. At the heir to a slaughtered empire who'd just handed him the keys to burn it all down. "Yes," he said. "I'm ready." Outside, Manhattan glittered like a battlefield waiting to ignite. And somewhere in the darkness, Christian Moretti was planning his next move. But for the first time since this began, Gabriel Castile wasn't afraid. He was armed. The hard drive sat on Gabriel's desk like a loaded gun. 3 a.m. The city below had gone quiet except for the distant wail of sirens. Someone else's emergency. Someone else's blood on pavement. Gabriel stood at the windows with a glass of whiskey he hadn't touched, watching his reflection overlap with Manhattan's skyline. Behind him, Alicia worked at the second desk with 2 laptops open and the encrypted drive connected through a series of security protocols that would have made government agencies jealous. Her fingers moved across keyboards with mechanical precision, pulling files that had been buried for 3 years. "How much longer?" Gabriel asked without turning. "Another hour, maybe 2. My father's encryption was paranoid-level secure. I'm having to break through 7 different authentication layers." She paused. "He didn't trust anyone, not even family. Smart man." "Dead man." Alessia's voice was flat, empty. "Smart doesn't matter when someone puts 15 bullets in your chest." Gabriel turned to look at her. She'd pulled her hair back, tied it tight enough to make her features sharp and severe. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She'd been awake for 36 hours straight, running on coffee and rage. "You need to sleep," he said. "I need to finish this." Her eyes never left the screens. "Christian's coming. We both know it. Every hour we waste is an hour he uses to position his people, to plan, to turn this city into a kill box with us at the center." She wasn't wrong. Gabriel's phone had been buzzing all night. Reports from Marcus, sightings of Moretti associates at 3 different hotels, a warehouse in Red Hook that suddenly had armed guards who weren't there yesterday, 2 shipments that came through Port Newark with manifests that didn't match their contents. Christian was moving pieces into place, building infrastructure for a war that would start the moment he gave the order. Gabriel's phone buzzed again. He checked it. Marcus. "Talk to me," Gabriel said. "We have a problem. One of our safe houses in Queens just went dark. The security team isn't responding." Gabriel's blood went cold. "Which safe house?" "The one on Astoria Boulevard. The team checked in at 0200. Nothing since. Send a crew, now. Full tactical. If anyone's still alive, I want them extracted. If anyone's dead, I want to know who killed them." Gabriel's grip tightened on the phone. "And Marcus? This doesn't leave the inner circle. If word gets out that Christian's already striking, it'll cause panic. Understood. I'm mobilizing now." The call ended. Alessia had stopped typing. "Which safe house?" "Queens, Astoria Boulevard." Her face went gray. "That's where you were going to move me. Tomorrow morning. That was the plan." "Yes." "So Christian knew. He knew exactly where you were going to put me." Alessia stood, her chair scraping against marble. "Which means he has someone inside your organization, someone feeding him information in real time." Gabriel had already reached the same conclusion. Hated it, but facts didn't care about preferences. "We'll find them." "How? How do you find a traitor when you don't know who to trust?" Alessia moved toward him. "Gabriel, if someone in your inner circle is compromised, then everything we're planning is already known. Every move, every strategy. Christian's 3 steps ahead because someone's giving him the playbook." "Then we change the playbook." Gabriel pulled out his phone, started typing. "I'm sending new orders. Encrypted. Different protocols for every team. No one gets the full picture except me. If there's a leak, we isolate it." "And if the leak is Marcus?" Gabriel's hands stilled. "It's not." "How do you know?" "Because I've known Marcus for 12 years. He saved my life 4 times. Your father trusted his second-in-command for 20 years, Alessia interrupted, her voice cut like glass. "Right up until that second-in-command sold him to the feds and disappeared with $3 million in offshore accounts. Trust is a liability in our world, Gabriel. You taught me that." "Marcus isn't the leak." "Then who is?" Alicia's eyes blazed. "Because someone told Christian about that safe house. Someone gave him enough information to hit it before we even got there. And if we don't find them, we're fighting blind." Gabriel's phone buzzed. Marcus again. "The crew's on site. Sir, you need to see this. Send me the feed." 30 seconds later, Gabriel's phone displayed a live video stream from a body cam. The image was dark, lit by tactical flashlights cutting through what used to be the safe house. Bodies. 3 of them. Gabriel's security team, execution style, single shots to the back of the head, professional, clean. But that wasn't what made Gabriel's stomach turn. On the wall, written in blood, 2 words, "She's mine." Alessia saw it, made a sound like she'd been punched. "Oh God." "Get a forensics team," Gabriel said into the phone. "I want DNA on that blood. I want ballistics on those bullets. I want to know everything about who did this and when." "Sir, there's something else. We found a phone. Burner. 1 number in the call log. It's yours." Gabriel's world tilted. "What?" "Someone called your personal cell from this location 2 hours ago." "That's impossible. I haven't received any calls from unknown numbers tonight." The call lasted 6 seconds, then disconnected. Marcus's voice was careful, controlled. "Sir, either someone spoofed your number or someone very close to you made that call." Gabriel ended the video feed, turned to Alessia. "Show me your phone." "What?" "Your phone. Now." Alessia's expression went from confused to cold. "You think I called them?" "I think I need to see your phone. I've been sitting right here for the last 3 hours. You've been watching me the entire time. Show me your phone." Alessia pulled it from her pocket, threw it at him. Gabriel caught it, checked the call log. Clean. No calls out, no messages sent. He checked Marcus's phone log remotely, access he'd built into every device in his organization. Also clean, which meant either someone had wiped their records or someone was using a device Gabriel didn't know about. "It's not me," Alicia said quietly. "But you already knew that. You just needed to check, because trust is a liability."
Gabriel handed back her phone. "I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right to check." She took the phone, slipped it back into her pocket. "But Gabriel, if it's not me and it's not Marcus, then who? Who else has access to your personal number? Who else knows your security protocols?" Gabriel ran through the list in his head. His inner circle was small by design. Marcus, 3 other senior lieutenants, his lawyer, his accountant, and 1 other person. No, not possible.
But the thought had already taken root. "I need to make a call," Gabriel said. He walked to the far side of the penthouse, dialed a number he knew by heart. She answered on the 3rd ring, sounded half asleep. "Gabriel, it's 3 in the morning. Where are you, Sophia?" Sophia Reeves, his CFO, the woman who'd managed his finances for 8 years, the woman who knew every account, every transaction, every dollar that moved through his empire. "I'm home. In bed. Where else would I be?" A pause. "What's wrong?" "I need you to come to the penthouse. Now." "Now? Gabriel, what's—" "Now, Sophia. It's not a request." He ended the call before she could argue. Alessia was watching him. "You think it's her?" "I think I need to eliminate possibilities." Gabriel's jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. "If Sophia's clean, we move to the next name. If she's not, then Christian's had access to your financial records for God knows how long. He knows what you're worth, what you can afford, where your money moves." Alessia's expression was grim. "That's not just intelligence, that's ammunition." 20 minutes later, Sophia Reeves walked through the door. She looked exactly like she always did. 42 years old, blonde hair pulled back, dressed in expensive casual wear that suggested money without flaunting it. But her eyes were sharp, alert, taking in Gabriel's expression, Alicia's presence, the tension thick enough to choke on. "What's going on?" Sophia asked. "Sit down," Gabriel said. "I'd rather stand." "I said sit." Something in his voice made her move. She sat on the leather couch near the windows, crossed her legs, folded her hands. Gabriel remained standing, looming. "Where were you tonight between midnight and 2 a.m.? Sophia's eyebrows rose. "I told you, home, asleep." "Can anyone verify that?" "I live alone, Gabriel. You know that." Her voice cooled. "What is this? Why am I being interrogated at 3 in the morning? Someone hit one of our safe houses tonight, killed 3 of my people, left a message in blood." Gabriel moved closer. "Someone who knew exactly which safe house to hit. Someone who had information they shouldn't have." Sophia's face went carefully blank. "And you think it was me?" "I think I need to rule you out." "How? What do you want? Bank records, phone logs, a polygraph?" Sophia stood. "I've worked for you for 8 years, Gabriel. I've handled every dollar you've ever made. If I wanted to betray you, I could have done it 1,000 different ways. I could have sold you to the SEC, to the FBI, to every rival you have. But I didn't, because I'm loyal, because you pay me extremely well to be loyal." "Loyalty can be bought twice," Alicia said from across the room, "especially when the second offer is higher than the first." Sophia's eyes cut to her. "And who the hell are you to talk about loyalty? You hid your identity for 2 years. You lied about who you were. You embedded yourself in this organization under false pretenses. I embedded myself to survive, or to spy. Maybe Christian Moretti sent you here 3 years ago. Maybe this whole thing, the engagement, the protection, the alliance, is just an elaborate setup to destroy Gabriel from the inside." Alessia's expression went deadly. "Say that again?" "Maybe you're the leak. Maybe—" Gabriel's hand cracked across Sophia's face. The sound echoed through the penthouse. Sophia stumbled back, hand flying to her cheek. Blood trickled from her split lip. "You don't talk to her like that," Gabriel said quietly. "You don't question her loyalty, not in my presence. Are we clear?" Sophia touched her lip, stared at the blood on her fingers. When she looked up, something had changed in her eyes, something cold and calculating. Crystal clear, she said. Gabriel's instinct screamed warning. Sophia, you want to know if I'm the leak? Sophia smiled, sharp and vicious. I'm not, but I know who is, and I know exactly why they're doing it. Who? Figure it out yourself, Gabriel. You're supposed to be the brilliant strategist, the untouchable king. She moved toward the door. But here's a hint. The person feeding Christian information isn't doing it for money. They're doing it for revenge. And when you figure out who has a reason to burn you to the ground, you're going to wish you'd been kinder. She walked out. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Gabriel stood frozen. Processing. Alessia moved to his side. She knows something. Yes. So why didn't she tell you? Because she wants me to suffer. She wants me to figure it out the hard way. Gabriel's mind raced. Someone with a reason for revenge. Someone close enough to have access. Someone who... His phone rang. Unknown number. Gabriel answered. Yes. A voice he recognized immediately. Male, smooth, familiar. Hello, Gabriel. Did you enjoy the present I left in Queens? David Chen, Christian Moretti's lawyer. The man who delivered the dinner invitation. How did you get this number? Gabriel asked. The same way I got the location of your safe house. The same way I got your security protocols. The same way I got every piece of information Christian needed to dismantle you. David's voice stayed pleasant, professional. Someone very close to you has been extremely helpful. And before you ask, no, it's not Sophia. Though she's figured it out. She's smarter than you give her credit for. Who? All in good time. Right now, Christian would like to extend another invitation. This time it includes Miss Romano. Alessia tensed beside him. Where? Gabriel said. The Pierre Hotel. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. There's a charity gala. Very public, very safe. Christian will have a private room reserved. Just the four of us. You, Miss Romano, Christian, and me. We'll have a conversation, a civilized conversation. And at the end of it, you'll make a choice. What choice? Whether to give us Miss Romano willingly or whether to watch Christian take her by force. David paused. I'll be honest with you, Gabriel. Christian prefers willing cooperation. It's cleaner, less collateral damage. But if you refuse, he's prepared to turn that gala into a bloodbath. 300 people attending. Socialites, politicians, old money. The kind of massacre that makes international news. Gabriel's free hand clenched into a fist. You're bluffing. Am I? Would you like to test that theory? Would you like to bet 300 lives on the assumption that Christian Moretti, the man who executed 17 people in a single night, won't pull the trigger? Silence stretched like wire. Then David spoke again. 8 p.m., Gabriel. Private room on the 3rd floor. Don't be late. And Gabriel? Bring Miss Romano. If she's not with you, Christian starts shooting at 8:15. Socialites first, then politicians, then whoever's left standing. The line went dead. Gabriel set down the phone. His hand was shaking. Alessia's voice came quiet, steady. He's not bluffing. I know. So what do we do? Gabriel turned to face her. We go to the gala. We walk into that room, and we end this. How? How do we end it when Christian has all the leverage? When he has someone inside your organization feeding him everything? When he's threatening to massacre 300 people if we don't comply? We use the hard drive. We find something on Christian, something that gives us leverage, something that makes him back down. Gabriel, we don't have time. The gala's tomorrow night. That's less than 24 hours. It took my father 30 years to compile this information. We can't. Then we don't look for everything. We look for one thing. One piece of leverage so devastating that Christian has no choice but to negotiate. Gabriel moved to the desk. Show me what you've accessed so far. Alessia pulled up files on the laptop. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Organized by category. Politicians, judges, business leaders, criminals. Most of this is Chicago-based, she said. People my father controlled. But there's some overlap with New York. Some connections to national organizations. She scrolled through folders. Here. This one's labeled insurance. My father always said insurance was the most valuable commodity in our world. Gabriel opened the folder. Inside 3 files, each one marked with a name. The first, Senator Richard Hayworth, Federal Oversight Committee. 3 photographs of him with a woman who wasn't his wife. A stack of financial records showing payments to an offshore account. The second, Judge Martha Kellerman.
Southern District of New York. Audio recordings of her taking bribes. Video footage of her falsifying evidence. The third, Christian Moretti. Gabriel's pulse kicked. He opened the file. Inside, a single document, scanned from paper, handwritten in neat, precise script. A birth certificate. Gabriel read it once, then again, his brain refusing to process what his eyes were seeing. Christian Moretti, born Christian Volkov. Mother, Elena Volkov. The same Elena Volkov who was Alessia's mother, which meant, "No," Alessia whispered. She'd seen it too. "No, that's not possible." Gabriel grabbed the document, enlarged it. The date was right. The location was right. The signature at the bottom belonged to a doctor who'd worked at a hospital in Brighton Beach 30 years ago. "Your mother had another child," Gabriel said slowly, "before she married your father. A son. My mother died when I was 16. She would have told me. She would have, unless she couldn't. Unless it was a secret so dangerous that revealing it would have destroyed everything." Gabriel's mind raced. "Christian Moretti isn't just your enemy, Alessia. He's your half-brother." Alessia made a sound like something breaking. She stumbled back from the desk, hit the wall, slid down it until she was sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. "He killed our family," she said. Her voice was hollow, empty. "He walked into our home and murdered everyone. My father, my brothers, my cousins, his own family. He didn't know. He couldn't have known." "How do you know that? How do you know my mother didn't tell him? How do you know he didn't kill them specifically because they were his family?" Alessia's hands were shaking. "What kind of monster kills his own blood?" Gabriel knelt beside her. "The kind who's been lied to his entire life. Christian thinks he's a Moretti. He built his identity on that name. If he found out the truth, if he found out his real mother abandoned him, gave him away, built a new family without him, so—" "Stop. Just stop." Alessia pressed her palms to her eyes. I can't process this. My mother had a child and gave him away. That child grew up to become the man who destroyed everything. And now he's coming for me. His own sister. Half-sister. Does the distinction matter when he's planning to murder me?" Gabriel didn't have an answer. His phone buzzed. Marcus. "Sir, we found something at the safe house. A laptop, hidden in the ventilation system. It was running surveillance software, recording everything. Audio, video, data transmissions. Whoever planted it has been monitoring that location for weeks." "Can you trace it?" "Already did. The IP address routes through a dozen proxies, but we finally cracked it." Marcus paused. "Sir, the laptop's registered to someone in your organization, someone with top-level access." "Who?" "Detective Sarah Reeves, NYPD. She's Sophia's sister." Gabriel's blood went cold. "Sarah's been on my payroll for 6 years. Feeding me information on investigations, giving me warning when raids are planned. She's also been feeding information to Christian Moretti. We pulled her bank records, monthly deposits, $200,000. Source, Moretti Shell Corporation." Gabriel ended the call, looked at Alicia. "It's Sarah," he said. "Sophia's sister. She's the leak." Alessia stood slowly. "Then we have a problem. Because if Sarah's been monitoring your safe houses, she knows about this penthouse. She knows where we are right now." As if summoned, the lights went out. Emergency backup kicked in 3 seconds later, dim red lighting that turned the penthouse into something from a nightmare. Gabriel was already moving, pulling Alessia to her feet, reaching for the gun he kept in the desk drawer. The elevator dinged. Marcus's voice came through Gabriel's earpiece. "Sir, we have a breach. South entrance. 4 armed individuals. They're coming up." "How did they get past security?" "They had access codes, current codes. Someone gave them the keys." Sarah. Of course, she'd have everything, every protocol, every failsafe. Gabriel grabbed Alessia's hand. "We're leaving, now." "Where? If they're in the building?" "The roof. We'll take the emergency exit." They ran. Through the penthouse, down the hallway, to the steel door marked Roof Access. Gabriel punched in the code. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. "It's been locked out," Alicia said. Sarah changed the codes. Behind them, footsteps. Heavy. Professional.
getting closer. Gabriel turned, raised his gun. Get behind me. Gabriel, behind me, now. Alessia pressed against the wall. Gabriel positioned himself between her and the hallway, his finger on the trigger, his breathing steady despite his heart trying to break through his ribs. 4 men rounded the corner, armed with automatic rifles, wearing tactical gear, professional. Not Moretti's usual thugs. These were trained operators. The lead man raised his weapon. Gabriel fired first. The shot caught the man in the shoulder. He went down. The other 3 scattered, returned fire. Bullets punched through marble, shattered glass. Gabriel dragged Alessia down. They hit the floor as the world exploded into violence. "We need to move," Gabriel shouted. "Where?" "The panic room, end of the hall. Go!" They scrambled, bullets chasing them. Alessia reached the panel first, slammed her palm against the biometric scanner. The door slid open. They fell inside. The door sealed behind them with a hydraulic hiss. Silence. The panic room was 12 by 12, steel-reinforced walls, independent air supply, enough food and water for 3 days, and absolutely no way out except the door they'd just come through. Gabriel's earpiece crackled. "Marcus." "Sir, are you secure?" "For now. Status?" The assault teams pulled back. They're not trying to breach the panic room. They're just waiting. Waiting for what? "I don't know. But sir, we have another problem. The gala at the Pierre. It's happening right now. Guests are arriving. Christian's already inside." Gabriel checked his watch. 7:30 p.m. They'd lost track of time. Been so focused on the hard drive and Sarah's betrayal that the deadline had crept up like a knife in the dark. "Christian moved up the timeline, Brotteron," Gabriel said. "The invitation said 8 p.m., but he's already there, which means—" His phone rang. "David Chen," Gabriel answered. "I'm disappointed, Gabriel. You're not here. Miss Romano's not here. And it's now 7:32. David's voice stayed pleasant. "Christian's decided to move up the schedule. The first guest dies at 7:45. That's 13 minutes. Unless you arrive in the next 10 minutes with Miss Romano, of course." "I'm in a panic room. There's an assault team outside. I couldn't get there in 10 minutes even if I wanted to." "Oh, I know. Sarah told us you'd probably retreat to the panic room. Very predictable." David paused. "Here's what's going to happen. At 7:45, Christian will execute 1 guest. At 8 p.m., another. Every 15 minutes after that until you either arrive or he runs out of bullets. The question is, how many deaths can you live with, Gabriel? How many people have to die before you give Christian what he wants?" "Don't do this, David. Those people are innocent." "No one at $1,000 a plate charity gala is innocent. They're rich. They're connected. They're exactly the kind of people whose deaths will make international headlines, which is precisely what Christian wants. Attention, spectacle, a message that says the Moretti cartel doesn't negotiate. What about the information on the hard drive? What if I told you I have leverage, something that would destroy Christian if it went public?" David laughed. "You mean the birth certificate? The Elena Volkov connection? Sarah already told us you found it." "Christian knows, Gabriel. He's known for 6 months. That's why he's doing this. That's why he needs Alicia dead. Because she's living proof that his entire identity is a lie. And lies like that, they're fatal in our world." The line went dead. Gabriel stood frozen. Christian knew. He'd known for months. The birth certificate wasn't leverage. It was motive. Christian wasn't trying to eliminate a Romano heir. He was trying to eliminate the evidence of his own origin. Alessia was sitting against the wall, tears streaming down her face. "He's going to kill them. All those people. Because of me. Not because of you, because of him." Same result. She looked up, eyes red and desperate. "Gabriel, we have to stop this. We have to—" "We're locked in a panic room with an assault team outside and a madman at the Pierre threatening to massacre a ballroom full of people. Tell me how we stop this. We give him what he wants. We give him me. No. Gabriel? No, I'm not handing you over to be executed. Then what? We sit here while he murders innocent people? While he proves to the entire world that you're powerless to protect anyone?" Alessia stood, moved toward him. "This is the only way. You open that door, you let me walk out, you tell Christian I'm coming, and you end this before more people die. If I let you walk out that door, you die. That's not negotiable. That's fact. Then I die." But at least those people live. Her voice broke. I've been running for 3 years, Gabriel, hiding, surviving. But I'm so tired. I'm so tired of being afraid, of watching people die because I exist. So let me do this. Let me end it. Gabriel grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. Christian doesn't just want you dead. He wants you erased. He wants every trace of Elena Volkov's first family eliminated. If you walk out there, he wins. He gets what he wants. And your family, everyone the Romanos ever were, disappears like they never existed. Maybe they should. Maybe that's what we deserve for the blood we've spilled, the lives we've destroyed. That's grief talking. That's exhaustion. That's reality. Alicia shoved him back. My family was built on violence, on corruption, on breaking people until they had nothing left. My father was a monster, Gabriel. A brilliant, charming monster who taught me how to read balance sheets while his men buried bodies in the Pine Barrens. And my mother had a child and gave him away because he didn't fit into her new life. She chose us over him, and now he's destroying us for it. So maybe this is justice. Maybe this is what we've earned. You haven't earned anything except a chance to live. I don't want just a chance. I want certainty. I want peace. I want to stop looking over my shoulder waiting for the next attack. She moved closer. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to open that door. You're going to let me walk to the Pierre, and you're going to let me face my brother and end this. I can't. You have to. Because if you don't, those people die, and their deaths are on both of us, not just Christian, us. Her hands cupped his face. I know what I'm asking. I know what it costs. But Gabriel, please, let me save someone. Let me do one good thing before I go. Gabriel stared at her, at the woman he'd claimed as his, at the ghost who'd stepped into light only to be swallowed by darkness again. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to find another way, to fight. But she was right. The people at that gala were innocent, and their blood would stain his hands if he didn't act. There's a third option, he said quietly. What? Gabriel pulled out his phone, called Marcus. I need a car, armored, fastest you have, rear entrance, 2 minutes. Sir, you can't leave the panic room. The assault team will let us through because I'm about to give them what they want. Gabriel looked at Alessia. We're both going to the Pierre, together. But we're not surrendering. We're walking in armed and ready. And if Christian wants you, he's going to have to go through me to get you, literally. Alessia's eyes widened. Gabriel, that's insane. I know. But it's the only play we have left. Christian wants a public spectacle? We'll give him one. But it'll be on our terms, not his. Gabriel moved to the door, entered the code that would unseal it. The steel slid open. Outside, the assault team stood waiting, weapons raised, but not firing. The lead man, the one Gabriel had shot in the shoulder, spoke. Mr. Moretti said you'd come out eventually. He said to tell you the car's waiting downstairs. You and Miss Romano, no one else. And if we refuse, then I put bullets in both of you and deliver the bodies. Either way, Christian gets what he wants. The man smiled. But he's hoping you'll come willingly. More fun that way. Gabriel stepped out. Alessia followed. They walked past the assault team, down the elevator, through the lobby where security lay unconscious or dead. Out to the rear entrance where a black Mercedes idled. Sarah Reeves sat in the driver's seat. She turned to look at them through the partition, smiled. Get in. I'll take you to your execution. Gabriel and Alessia climbed into the back. The car pulled away from the curb, merged into Manhattan traffic, heading toward the Pierre Hotel, toward Christian Moretti, toward whatever end waited in a private room on the 3rd floor. Alessia's hand found Gabriel's, held tight. When we get there, she said quietly, I need you to promise me something. What? If it comes down to a choice, my life or yours, you let me go. You walk away. You survive. Alessia, promise me, Gabriel, because if both of us die tonight, Christian wins completely. But if you survive, you can rebuild. You can use everything on that hard drive to destroy him, to make sure my family's legacy isn't just blood and failure. Her voice broke. So promise me. Promise you'll walk away if you have to. Gabriel didn't answer. Couldn't.
Because they both knew that when they walked into that room, only one thing was certain: someone wasn't walking out.
The Pierre Hotel rose against the Manhattan skyline like a monument to wealth that didn't care about the blood spilled to build it. Sarah drove the Mercedes through evening traffic with the calm efficiency of someone who'd already decided how the night would end. Gabriel watched her through the partition, the set of her shoulders, the way her eyes flicked to the rearview mirror every 30 seconds. She wasn't just a driver, she was an executioner on a schedule. "How much did Christian pay you?" Gabriel asked. Sarah's eyes met his in the mirror. "Enough. More than 6 years of loyalty to me was worth. Loyalty doesn't pay for my mother's cancer treatments. Loyalty doesn't cover the bills when the insurance denies claims for the third time." Her voice stayed flat, empty. "You paid me well, Gabriel, but Christian paid me better. And he promised me something you never could." "What's that?"
"A clean exit. After tonight, I disappear. New name, new city, enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life." Sarah took a corner smoothly. "You would have used me until I was burned. Christian's giving me a way out." Alessia spoke from beside Gabriel. "He's lying to you." "Maybe, but I've already made my choice." Sarah pulled up to the Pierre's service entrance. "We're here. 3rd floor. Private room at the end of the east corridor. Christian's waiting, so is everyone else." "Everyone else?" Gabriel asked. Sarah smiled in the mirror, cold and sharp. "You'll see." 2 men in black suits opened the car doors. Not hotel security. These were Moretti's people. Armed, professional. They didn't speak. Just gestured toward a side entrance with weapons that said compliance wasn't optional. Gabriel stepped out. Alessia followed. The night air was cold enough to make his breath fog. Around them, Manhattan hummed with life. Cabs honking, people laughing, someone singing badly outside a bar 2 blocks over. Normal city sounds, as if the world hadn't narrowed to this single moment. The men led them inside, through a service corridor that smelled like industrial cleaner and old carpet, up a back stairwell where their footsteps echoed against concrete, through a door that opened onto plush carpeting and crystal chandeliers. The 3rd floor. Music drifted from the main ballroom, string quartet, champagne glasses clinking, the murmur of 300 people who had no idea they were standing in a kill box. Gabriel caught a glimpse through open doors, designer gowns, tailored tuxedos, people whose biggest concern tonight was whether the salmon was sustainably sourced. The guards turned away from the ballroom, led them down the east corridor, past closed doors, past security cameras that had conveniently stopped recording 10 minutes ago, according to the dark status lights. At the end of the corridor, double doors, mahogany, expensive. One of the guards knocked twice. David Chen opened the door. He looked exactly like he had on the phone. 40s, expensive suit, the kind of face that suggested law school and corner offices. But his eyes were dead, flat. The eyes of someone who'd watched people die and felt nothing. "Gabriel, Miss Romano, thank you for coming." David stepped aside. "Christian's been waiting." They walked inside. The private room was designed for corporate events. 20-foot ceilings, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking 5th Avenue, a conference table that could seat 30. But tonight, only 4 chairs were occupied. Christian Moretti sat at the head of the table. He'd changed since the restaurant, traded the business suit for something more casual. Black shirt, no tie, like he'd already decided this was going to get messy. To his right, Viktor Ivanenko. Gabriel's blood went cold. Viktor looked uncomfortable, trapped. His usual confidence replaced by something that looked almost like fear. His hands rested on the table, flat, deliberate, the posture of a man trying very hard not to make sudden movements. "Viktor," Gabriel said quietly, "what are you doing here?" "He's here because I invited him," Christian said. He stood, smiled. The resemblance to Alicia was undeniable now that Gabriel knew to look for it. Same dark eyes, same sharp features, same predatory grace. "Please, sit." Gabriel didn't move. "You said this was between us." "It is. Victor's just insurance to make sure you don't try anything stupid." Christian gestured to the empty chairs. "Sit. We have a lot to discuss." Gabriel met Victor's eyes. The Russian gave a microscopic shake of his head. A warning. This was wrong. All of it. But they'd come this far. Gabriel pulled out a chair. Alessia sat beside him. David Chen moved to stand by the door. Outside, Gabriel could hear footsteps. Guards. Maybe 6. Maybe more. Christian settled back into his chair. Let me explain how this works. We're going to have a conversation. A civilized conversation. And at the end of it, you're going to give me Alessia. Willingly. That's not going to happen, Gabriel said. We'll see. Christian's smile didn't waver. Victor, why don't you tell Gabriel what happens if he refuses? Victor's jaw tightened. Christian has my nephew, Sergei, the one from the dinner at Lirnadon. He's being held at a warehouse in Red Hook. If this conversation doesn't end the way Christian wants, Sergei dies. Not just dies, Christian corrected, gets dismembered on a live video stream that goes to every major syndicate from Moscow to Los Angeles. A message about what happens when people ally with Gabriel Castile against the Moretti cartel. Gabriel felt Alessia tense beside him. You're using Sergei as leverage. I'm using everything as leverage. Sergei, the 300 people in that ballroom, Victor's reputation, your empire. Christian leaned forward. Here's what you don't understand, Gabriel. I don't just want Alessia dead. I want you destroyed. I want your organization dismantled. I want every alliance you've built turned to ash, because you made a fundamental mistake. What's that? You thought you could protect her. You thought putting a ring on her finger and making declarations would be enough to keep me at bay. Christian's voice went cold. But I don't care about declarations. I don't care about your reputation or your money or your connections. I care about one thing, erasing every trace of Elena Volkov's first family. And that means Alessia dies. Tonight, in this room, while you watch. Alessia spoke for the first time since they'd entered. You know, Christian's eyes cut to her. Know what? That we're related. That Elena was your mother too. Silence filled the room like poison gas. Christian stared at her. Something flickered behind his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or rage. Then it was gone, replaced by that same cold calculation. So Sarah told you. I wondered if she would. Christian stood, walked to the windows. Yes, I know. I've known for 6 months, a DNA test, conclusive. Elena Volkov gave birth to me in Brighton Beach and gave me up for adoption 3 months later. The Morettis raised me, gave me a name, a legacy, an identity. And now you want to erase the evidence that any of that was a lie, Alessia said. It's not a lie. I am Christian Moretti. That's who I became. That's who I am. He turned back to face her. Elena's decision to give me away, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because the Morettis made me strong, made me ruthless, made me everything the Romanos were too soft to survive. We survived for 40 years, and then you didn't. Because when it mattered, your father hesitated. He had opportunities to crush me, to end the threat before it grew. But he didn't, because somewhere in his arrogant, entitled brain, he thought the old alliances still mattered, that blood and history were stronger than ambition. Christian moved closer to the table. He was wrong, and now his entire bloodline pays the price. Except for me, for now. Christian's hand moved to his jacket, pulled out a gun, placed it on the table between them. Here's how this ends. You pick up that gun, you put it to your temple, and you pull the trigger. Clean, simple, no collateral damage, no massacre, just one bullet, and this is over. Gabriel lunged forward. Like hell. 4 guards burst through the door, weapons raised. One of them pressed a barrel to the back of Gabriel's head. Sit down, Christian said pleasantly, or I have him blow your brains across this very expensive table. Gabriel sat, slowly, the gun never leaving his skull. Alessia stared at the weapon on the table. And if I refuse? Then I kill Sergei. Then I walk into that ballroom and start executing guests, one every minute until you comply. Your choice, sister. Die with dignity or die watching everyone around you fall first. Victor made a sound like something breaking. Christian, please, this is madness. You have what you want. Alessia's here. Just what? Let her go? Pretend she doesn't exist? Christian's laugh was sharp, bitter. She's living proof that I'm not who I claim to be.
As long as she breathes, there's always a chance someone uses that against me. Some rival, some ambitious underling who wants leverage. I can't have that. I won't have that. Alessia's hand moved toward the gun. Gabriel grabbed her wrist. Don't. Gabriel, I said don't. He looked up at Christian. You want leverage? I have leverage. Information that destroys you. Not just the birth certificate. Everything. Your real mother's connections to the Russian mob. Your father's ties to the Chicago outfit before the Morettis adopted you. Records of every illegal operation you've run for the last 15 years. All of it documented. All of it ready to go public if anything happens to either of us. Christian's expression didn't change. You're bluffing. Am I? Test me. Kill Alessia. Kill me. And watch every federal agency from the FBI to Interpol descend on your organization within 24 hours. Watch your allies abandon you. Watch your empire crumble. Where's this supposed information? Encrypted. Multiple copies. Set to release automatically if I don't check in every 12 hours. You kill me, the clock runs out, and the world learns everything about Christian Volkov. Gabriel smiled, cold, sharp. So go ahead, pull the trigger, see what happens. Christian stared at him, calculating, weighing. Then he laughed. Actually laughed. You're good. You're very good. Almost had me convinced. He picked up the gun from the table. But here's the problem with your bluff, Gabriel. Sarah's been monitoring your systems for weeks. If you had a dead man's switch, she would have found it. If you had encrypted files ready to deploy, she would have flagged them. But she didn't, because they don't exist. They exist, Alicia said quietly. Just not where Sarah could find them. Christian's smile faltered. Alessia stood, slowly. The guard behind Gabriel tensed, but didn't fire. My father was paranoid, Alessia continued. He didn't trust digital security. Too easy to hack, too vulnerable. So he kept backups, physical backups, documents, photographs, audio recordings, all stored in a safety deposit box at a bank in the Cayman Islands. The only way to access it is with a biometric key. My fingerprint, my retinal scan, and an access code that changes every 48 hours. Christian's face went very still. If I die, Alicia said, the box gets opened by the bank's security team per my father's instructions. Everything inside gets scanned and uploaded to every major news outlet in the Western Hemisphere. Automatically. No way to stop it. You're lying. Am I? Alessia pulled out her phone, showed the screen to Christian. This is the confirmation email from the bank. Updated 47 hours ago when I changed the access code remotely. I'm due to change it again in 1 hour. If I don't, they open the box. If I die, they open the box. If I tell them to open it, they open the box. Christian grabbed the phone, read the screen. His knuckles went white. Gabriel watched the calculation happen behind Christian's eyes. The weighing of options. The recognition that maybe, just maybe, he'd lost his leverage. There's a third option, Gabriel said. You let us walk out of here. You let Victor and Sergei go. And we all pretend this conversation never happened. No war, no exposure, no bodies. Just a mutual agreement to stay out of each other's territory. That's not an option. That's surrender. It's survival. There's a difference. Gabriel stood slowly. The guard didn't stop him this time. You wanted to erase the Romano legacy. But Alicia just proved you can't. As long as she's alive, those files exist. As long as I'm alive, I have access to her. And as long as we're both breathing, you have to choose. Live with the threat or risk everything trying to eliminate it. Christian's hand tightened on the gun. His finger moved to the trigger. For 3 seconds, Gabriel thought he'd miscalculated. Thought Christian would just start shooting and deal with the consequences later. Then Victor spoke. Christian, I have worked with you for 5 years. You are brilliant, ruthless, everything a leader should be. But this is emotion. This is weakness disguised as strength. If you kill them, you prove you can be manipulated. That family means something to you, that you're vulnerable. Victor stood. Let them go. Preserve your reputation and find another way to handle the threat. Christian's eyes cut to Victor. You're taking his side? I am taking the side of sanity, of strategy. Victor gestured at the room. You have 300 people in that ballroom. Witnesses, cameras, social media. If gunfire erupts on this floor, you cannot contain it. You cannot spin it. It becomes international news.
And international news means federal attention, investigations, pressure you cannot afford. The gun wavered, then Christian lowered it. Get out, he said quietly. Gabriel didn't move. What about Sergei? He'll be released, unharmed. Christian's voice was hollow, empty. And Gabriel? This isn't over. I'm letting you walk tonight because the cost is too high, but eventually I'll find a way. I'll eliminate the threat. And when I do, you won't see it coming. I'll be ready. No, you won't. Christian turned back to the windows. Now get out before I change my mind. Gabriel grabbed Alessia's hand. They moved toward the door. Victor followed. David Chen stepped aside. The guards lowered their weapons. They walked into the corridor, down the hall, past the ballroom where champagne still flowed and nobody knew how close they'd come to dying, down the back stairs, through the service entrance, into the Manhattan night that felt like a resurrection. Victor's car was waiting. He climbed inside, turned to Gabriel through the open door. You made an enemy tonight who will never stop coming. You understand this, yes? I understand. Good. Then do not waste the time he has given you. Prepare, fortify. Because when Christian strikes again, he will do it from a direction you do not expect. Victor pulled the door closed. The car drove away. Gabriel and Alessia stood on the sidewalk, traffic rushing past, the city indifferent to the fact that they'd just walked out of their own execution. Alessia started shaking, just trembling violently like her body had been holding itself together through sheer will, and the will had finally run out. Gabriel pulled her close, felt her collapse against him. We're alive, she whispered. We're actually alive. Yes. How? How did that work? I made up the safety deposit box. The whole thing was a bluff. I don't have... I know. Gabriel's arms tightened around her. But he didn't, and that's all that mattered. Alessia pulled back, stared at him. What if he'd called the bluff? What if he'd just started shooting? Then we'd be dead, but we're not. We're here. We survived. Gabriel cupped her face. And now we use the time we bought. We prepare. Because Victor's right. Christian will come again. And next time we need to be ready. How do we prepare for someone who has infinite resources and infinite patience? By building something stronger than resources, stronger than patience. Gabriel's thumb traced her cheekbone. We build an empire that can't be touched, can't be infiltrated, can't be destroyed, and we do it together. Alessia's eyes searched his face. You're talking about marriage, actual marriage. I'm talking about partnership, about consolidating everything we have into something unbreakable. Gabriel pulled out his phone. Marcus, I need a full security sweep of every property we own. I need background checks on every person in the organization. Anyone with questionable loyalty gets cut. Anyone with family that Christian could leverage gets reassigned. We're locking down. Sir, what happened at the Pierre? We survived, barely. Now we make sure it doesn't happen again. Gabriel ended the call, looked back at Alicia. There's something else. The hard drive. The one from your father. We use it. Not as blackmail. As leverage for legitimate partnerships. We find everyone on that list who has reason to hate the Morettis. We build an alliance. An actual alliance strong enough to make Christian think twice about attacking. That's dozens of people, maybe hundreds. It'll take months. Then we take months. But we do it right. We do it smart. And when Christian finally makes his move, we're ready to crush him. Gabriel started walking, pulling Alessia with him. Come on. We need to get off the street. Where are we going? Somewhere Christian doesn't know about. Somewhere Sarah never had access to. Gabriel flagged down a cab, gave the driver an address in Brooklyn Heights. They rode in silence. Alessia's hand in his, the city streaming past the windows. The safe house was a brownstone that Gabriel had bought through 6 layers of shell corporations. Clean, secure, unknown to everyone except him. Inside, he locked the door, set the security system, checked every window. Only then did he let himself breathe. Alessia stood in the living room, still in the clothes she'd worn to the Pierre, still shaking slightly. We should have died tonight, she said, but we didn't. Why? Why did Christian let us go? It doesn't make sense. He had us. He had all the leverage. He hesitated because you made him doubt. You created uncertainty.
and uncertainty is death in our world. He couldn't afford to act without knowing for sure whether those files existed. Gabriel moved toward her. You saved us, with a lie, with perfect execution, with exactly the kind of ruthlessness your father would have been proud of. Alessia's laugh was broken, bitter. My father would have had a real dead man switch, not a bluff held together with desperation and luck. Your father's dead, you're alive. I know which approach I prefer. Gabriel caught her shoulders. Listen to me. Tonight was hell. Tomorrow will probably be worse. But we're still here, still fighting, and that means we have a chance. A chance at what? Everything. Power, survival, revenge. His hands moved to frame her face. A chance to build something that outlasts the people trying to destroy us. To create an empire where you're not running, where you're not hiding, where you stand in the light and dare anyone to touch you. Alessia's eyes filled with tears. I'm so tired, Gabriel. I'm so tired of fighting. Then let me fight for both of us. For tonight. Just tonight. Let me carry it. He pulled her close, felt her arms wrap around him. Tomorrow, we strategize. Tomorrow, we plan. But tonight, you rest. You breathe. You remember that you're alive. She nodded against his chest. They stood there in the darkness. Two people who'd faced death and walked away. Two people who'd built an alliance on lies and necessity, and something that might have been trust if either of them knew how to recognize it. Outside, Manhattan hummed with life. Somewhere in the city, Christian Moretti was planning his next move. Somewhere, Sarah Reeves was collecting her payoff and disappearing. Somewhere, the world kept turning like tonight had been ordinary. But in the brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, Gabriel Castile and Alessia Romano held each other and knew one truth with absolute certainty. The war had just begun. And when it came, they would be ready, or they would die trying. 3 weeks passed like the countdown to an execution. Gabriel rebuilt his organization from the ground up. Every employee vetted, every protocol rewritten, every safe house relocated. He moved through the days with mechanical precision, dismantling the infrastructure Sarah Reeves had compromised and replacing it with something harder, colder, impenetrable. Alessia worked beside him, not as a secretary this time, as a partner. She used her father's connections to build bridges Gabriel couldn't reach alone. Old families who remembered the Romanos. Politicians who owed debts that survived death. By the end of the second week, they had 12 new alliances spanning from Boston to Miami. Victor kept his word. Sent resources, intelligence, early warnings when the Morettis moved money or weapons through channels that intersected with Gabriel's territory. But Christian stayed silent. No attacks, no threats, nothing. The silence was worse than violence. Gabriel stood in the penthouse, back in Manhattan now, with security so tight that a fly couldn't enter without biometric clearance. Rain hammered against the windows. November had come cold and bitter, stripping the trees in Central Park down to skeletal branches. Marcus entered without knocking. "We found Sarah." Gabriel turned from the windows. "Where?" "Aruba. Living under the name Patricia Chen, married David Chen 3 days ago. They bought a villa on the beach with ocean views." Marcus set down a tablet showing surveillance photos. Sarah in a white dress, David in linen, both smiling like they'd gotten away with murder, because they had. "Do we move?" Marcus asked. Gabriel stared at the photos. Part of him wanted to send a team. Make it messy. Make it hurt. But Sarah was a symptom, not the disease. And revenge was a luxury he couldn't afford while Christian was still breathing. "Let her go," Gabriel said. "She's not worth the resources." Marcus nodded, started to leave, stopped. "Sir, there's something else. We intercepted communication between Christian and someone in the Chicago PD. He's been asking questions about Alessia, specifically about her childhood, schools she attended, friends she had, places she used to hide." Gabriel's blood went cold. He's looking for leverage, or he's looking for a way to hurt her that doesn't involve bullets. Marcus paused. "Sir, there's a name that keeps coming up in the intercepts. Elena Volkov. Christian's been visiting her grave 3 times in the last 2 weeks." Alessia appeared in the doorway. She'd been in the next room working on documentation for a weapons shipment. Now she stood frozen, her face pale. He's visiting my mother's grave? Her voice came out strangled. Marcus glanced at Gabriel. Gabriel nodded permission to continue. Yes, ma'am. Brighton Beach Cemetery. Always at night? Always alone? He brings flowers, white roses, stays for exactly 20 minutes, then leaves. Alessia moved into the room. Her hands were shaking. White roses were her favorite. She grew them in our garden in Chicago. My father hated them because the thorns were vicious, but she kept them anyway. Christian shouldn't know that, Gabriel said quietly, unless someone told him, someone who knew her before she became Elena Romano. Alessia's eyes went distant. My mother had a sister, Katya. She stayed in Brighton Beach when my mother moved to Chicago. They barely spoke after the marriage. My father didn't approve of the Russian connections, but Katya would have known about the roses, about the childhood details. Gabriel pulled out his phone. Marcus, find Katya Volkov, current address, known associates, financial records. I want everything. Already on it, we should have something within the hour. Marcus left. Alicia sank into a chair. He's mourning her. Christian's mourning the mother who gave him away, the mother he never knew. Or he's using the grave as cover, meeting someone there where surveillance is minimal. Gabriel sat across from her. Either way, it's a vulnerability, and vulnerabilities can be exploited. You want to use his grief against him. I want to use everything against him. Grief, rage, whatever keeps him coming back to that cemetery. Gabriel leaned forward. If Christian's meeting someone there, if he's building an operation through his mother's contacts, we can trace it. We can find his weak points. And when we do, we can end this. Alessia was quiet for a long moment. Rain continued to hammer against the windows. The city below was gray and cold and indifferent. There's another option, she said finally. What? I go to the cemetery, I talk to him, face to face. No guards, no guns. Just me and my brother trying to figure out if there's any way forward that doesn't end in blood. Absolutely not. Gabriel, you think Christian wants a conversation? You think he's visiting that grave because he's looking for closure? Gabriel's voice went hard. He's planning something, and walking into a cemetery alone with a man who's tried to kill you twice is suicide. Maybe. But what if it's not? What if there's a chance, however small, that we can end this without more bodies? There isn't. How do you know? Because men like Christian don't forgive. They don't forget. They wait, and they plan, and they strike when you think you're safe. Gabriel stood, paced to the windows. You want to believe there's humanity in him, that the shared blood means something, but it doesn't. He proved that when he executed your family, when he threatened to massacre 300 people, when he put a gun on a table and told you to shoot yourself. I know what he is. Alessia's voice was steady, certain. But I also know what I am, and I'm tired of letting fear make my decisions, so I'm going to that cemetery, tomorrow night, whether you approve or not. Gabriel turned. Then I'm coming with you. No, this has to be me, alone. If I show up with guards, he'll disappear, but if it's just me, if I prove I'm not afraid, maybe he'll talk. Maybe he'll let something slip. Or maybe he'll just kill me, but at least I'll know I tried. You're asking me to let you walk into a trap. I'm telling you I'm walking into it whether you let me or not. Alessia stood, moved toward him. I need you to trust me, Gabriel. Just this once. Let me handle this my way. Gabriel stared at her, at the woman who'd hidden in his shadow for 2 years, at the ghost who'd stepped into light, at the heir who'd faced down her brother with nothing but a bluff and survived. Every instinct screamed at him to refuse, to lock her down, to keep her safe even if it meant keeping her caged. But he'd learned something in the last 3 weeks. Alessia Romano wasn't a woman who could be caged. She was a force, dangerous and brilliant and absolutely unwilling to live on her knees. Fine, he said, but I have conditions. Name them. You wear a wire. I listen to everything. And the moment it goes wrong, the moment he makes a move, I come in with everything I have. Agreed. And Alessia? Gabriel caught her hand. If he kills you, I burn his entire world to the ground. Every operation, every alliance, every person who's ever said his name with respect, I erase him so completely that history forgets he existed. Alessia's fingers tightened on his. I know, that's why I trust you. The next night came too fast. Gabriel sat in the back of a surveillance van 3 blocks from Brighton Beach Cemetery. Rain had stopped, but the air was cold enough to make his breath fog. Around him, monitors showed feeds from 4 different cameras Marcus had positioned in trees surrounding Elena Volkov's grave. Alessia's voice came through clear on the wire. I'm at the entrance. Copy, Marcus said from the driver's seat. We have you on visual. Proceed to the grave. Christian's already there. Gabriel's hands clenched into fists. On the center monitor, he could see Christian's silhouette standing beside a white marble headstone. Flowers in his hand. White roses. Alessia walked toward him, slow, deliberate. Her coat was dark against the pale gravestones. She stopped 10 feet from Christian. Neither of them spoke for 30 seconds. Then Christian turned to face her. I wondered if you'd come. You've been waiting for me. Every night for 3 weeks. Christian set the roses on the grave. I figured eventually curiosity would win, or stupidity. With you, it's hard to tell the difference. Why are you here, Christian? Why visit a grave for a woman you never knew? Because she's the only mother I'll ever have. Adoption doesn't change biology, and biology doesn't change the fact that she gave me away like I was trash. Alessia moved closer. She was 19, alone, pregnant with a child from a man who'd abandoned her. She did what she thought she had to do to survive. And 30 years later, she had a new family, a good family, the family she chose to keep. Christian's voice went cold. So tell me, sister, how does it feel to be the child she wanted, the one she kept, the one she raised while I grew up with strangers? It feels like I survived something you didn't, pain, loss, the knowledge that the family I loved is gone because of you. Christian smiled, sharp, vicious. You want to trade trauma? You want to compare scars? I'll win that game every time. This isn't a game. Everything's a game. Life, death, power. The only question is whether you're winning or losing. Christian stepped closer. And right now, Alicia, you're losing. You just don't know it yet. In the van, Gabriel tensed. Something's wrong. Pull her out. Sir, she said, pull her out. Now. But it was already too late. Lights flooded the cemetery, portable floods mounted on vehicles that Gabriel's cameras hadn't caught approaching. 6 SUVs, maybe more. Men pouring out in tactical gear. Alessia spun, saw the trap closing, started running. Christian's laugh echoed through the wire. Did you really think I'd meet you alone? Did you think I was stupid enough to believe you'd come without backup? Gabriel was already moving. Out of the van, gun in hand, Marcus behind him shouting coordinates into a radio. The cemetery was 200 yards away. Gabriel ran like the devil was chasing him. Around him, his security team materialized from positions he'd set up as contingency. But they were outnumbered, badly. Gunfire erupted. Alessia's scream cut through the wire. Then nothing. Static. Gabriel's world narrowed to a single point. Get to her. Nothing else mattered. He crashed through the cemetery gates, saw bodies. 2 of Christian's men down, 3 of his own. Marcus taking cover behind a mausoleum trading shots with an enforcer Gabriel recognized from Chicago. And there sits Alessia. On the ground beside her mother's grave, blood spreading across her shoulder, Christian standing over her with a gun pointed at her head. Gabriel didn't think, just aimed and fired. The shot took Christian in the leg. He went down. The gun skittered across wet grass. Gabriel ran, reached Alicia, dropped beside her. I'm okay, she gasped. Shoulder, clean through, I'm okay. Christian was crawling toward his gun. Gabriel kicked it away, pressed his own weapon to Christian's temple. Give me a reason, Gabriel said. One reason not to pull this trigger. Christian looked up, blood streaming from his leg, but his eyes were clear, defiant. Because killing me makes you exactly like me. A murderer hiding behind justifications. I can live with that. Can you? Can you live with Alessia knowing you executed her brother? Her only living blood relative? Can you live with her looking at you every day and seeing a killer? Gabriel's finger tightened on the trigger. Alessia's hand caught his wrist. Don't. Alessia, don't, please. She was sitting up now despite the blood, despite the pain. If you kill him,
This never ends. His organization comes for us. Our allies turn on us because we crossed a line, and everything we've built falls apart. He tried to kill you, and he failed, just like he'll fail every time, because we're stronger than him, smarter, better prepared. Alessia's eyes met Christian's, but if we kill him, we prove him right. We prove that we're no different, that power is the only thing that matters, that family means nothing. Christian laughed, bitter and broken. You think family means something? You think blood creates obligation? Our mother threw me away. Your father tried to pretend I didn't exist, and now you're trying to save my life because what? You think it makes you noble? I think it makes me human. Alessia stood, swaying. Gabriel caught her. I think it means I'm choosing to be better than the cycle that destroyed us. And if that's naive or stupid or weak, then fine. I'd rather be weak than become you. Sirens wailed in the distance. NYPD. Someone had called in the gunfire. Gabriel looked at Christian, at the man who'd tried 3 times to kill the woman beside him, at the brother who'd murdered his own family for power and pride. He lowered the gun. Marcus, secure him, get him medical attention, then hand him to the police. Sir, do it. We're done running, done hiding. Christian attempted murder tonight. On camera, with witnesses. He goes through the system, publicly, legally, and when he's convicted, he spends the rest of his life in a federal prison where he can think about what family actually means. Christian's face went gray. You can't. I'll talk. I'll tell them everything about your organization, your operations. I'll bury you. Try it. I have 20 lawyers who specialize in making problems disappear. And you have a brother-sister duo with documented evidence of your attempted murder, plus the small matter of the Romano family massacre. I'm sure the FBI would love to reopen that investigation. See if they can find forensic evidence tying you to 17 counts of first-degree murder. Christian's expression crumbled. You're bluffing. Am I? Gabriel smiled, cold, final. You made a mistake, Christian. You assumed I thought like you, that I'd choose execution over justice. But Alicia's right. We're better than you. And that means you get to live with your failure every single day for the next 40 years. Police cars flooded into the cemetery, officers shouting, weapons drawn. Gabriel raised his hands, identified himself, pointed to Christian bleeding on the ground. That man just attempted to murder my fiancée. We have it on video. We have witnesses, and we're pressing charges. All of them. The arrest happened fast. Christian dragged away in handcuffs, screaming threats, promises of revenge. His voice fading as the police cars pulled away. An ambulance took Alicia to Mount Sinai. Gabriel rode with her, held her hand while the EMT worked on her shoulder. Clean through, the EMT confirmed. Missed the bone, missed major arteries. You're lucky. Alessia's laugh was weak. Yeah, lucky. At the hospital, they stitched her up. 12 sutures, heavy antibiotics, pain medication she refused to take because she said it made her fuzzy. Gabriel sat beside her bed, watching monitors, counting heartbeats. You should have let me kill him, he said finally. Maybe, but then you'd be living with it, and I couldn't do that to you. He'll come for us again, from prison, through intermediaries, through whatever connections he has left. Probably, but we'll be ready. Alessia's good hand found his, and maybe by then he'll have realized that revenge costs more than it's worth. Men like Christian don't learn. Then we teach him, over and over, until either he gets it or he's too broken to keep fighting. Gabriel studied her face, the exhaustion, the pain, the absolute certainty in her eyes that they'd made the right choice. I love you, he said. The words surprised him. He'd never said them before. Not to anyone. Alessia's eyes widened. What? I love you. I don't know when it started. Maybe when you stepped into that restaurant in emerald silk. Maybe when you dismantled Victor's negotiation. Maybe when you faced down Christian with nothing but a bluff and perfect execution. But I love you. And that terrifies me more than anything Christian could ever do. Tears spilled down Alessia's cheeks. You're an idiot. I know. A brilliant, ruthless, absolutely impossible idiot. She pulled him closer with her good arm. I love you too. Even though you're controlling and paranoid and you tried to cage me for my own protection, you're never going in a cage again. Good.
Because I just picked the lock and escape. Alessia kissed him, soft, careful. So what happens now? Now we build. We use your father's connections. We leverage Christian's arrest to consolidate power. We create something that can't be touched. Gabriel stroked her hair. And we get married. Actually married. Not for strategy. Not for protection. Because I want to wake up next to you for the rest of my life and know that you're mine. Possessive. Completely. Good. Because I'm possessive too. Alessia's eyes were starting to close, the exhaustion finally catching up. Gabriel? Yes? Thank you for trusting me tonight, for letting me make my own choices. Even when those choices are insane. Especially then. She smiled. Small. Peaceful. That's how you know it's real. She fell asleep holding his hand. Gabriel sat there in the hospital room, listening to monitors, watching her breathe. Outside, dawn was breaking over Manhattan. The city waking up to a day where Christian Moretti was in federal custody and Alessia Romano was alive. His phone buzzed. Victor. I saw the news. Christian arrested. You and Miss Romano unharmed. This is good outcome. For now. For now is all we ever get in this life. Victor paused. I am sending gift. Wedding gift. My best men. For security. Because if you are to build empire with Alicia, you will need protection from all the enemies you just made. We didn't make enemies. We made examples. Same thing in our world. But examples have value. They show others what happens when they cross you. Victor's tone shifted. You did well, Gabriel. Better than your father. Better than most men I have known. Alessia is fortunate to have found you. I'm fortunate to have found her. Then do not waste it. Build something worthy of her sacrifice, of her courage, of her refusal to become the monster her brother is. The call ended. Gabriel sat in silence, thinking about the last month. The violence, the fear, the moments where death had been one trigger pull away, and the woman who'd faced it all and chosen mercy over murder. The weeks after Christian's arrest blurred into a kind of controlled chaos. Christian's organization fractured without him. Some lieutenants tried to seize power. Gabriel and Alessia dismantled them with surgical precision, using information from the hard drive to leverage alliances and crush resistance. By December, the Moretti cartel had been absorbed into a coalition of families spanning 6 states. Gabriel's empire didn't expand. It evolved, became something hybrid between the old ways and new strategy. Alessia's influence, her insistence that they could be powerful without being monsters. Sarah Reeves disappeared from Aruba 3 weeks after Christian's arrest. Her body was never found. David Chen was arrested in connection with money laundering and racketeering. Last Gabriel heard, he'd taken a plea deal and was serving 20 years in a federal prison in Colorado. Victor sent the security team, 12 men. Russian, professional, absolutely loyal because Victor had hand-selected them and paid them better than anyone else would. And in March, 5 months after the cemetery, Gabriel and Alessia stood in a small chapel in upstate New York with 20 witnesses and made promises that actually meant something. The ceremony was quiet, simple. Nothing like the spectacle their world expected. But Alessia wore white silk and carried white roses, and when she looked at Gabriel, her eyes held everything that mattered. Marcus stood as best man. Victor attended via video call from Moscow. 3 of Alicia's mother's relatives came from Brighton Beach, cousins who'd survived the Romano massacre and had been too terrified to reach out until now. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Gabriel kissed Alessia like they were the only 2 people alive. And maybe, in that moment, they were. The reception happened at the brownstone in Brooklyn Heights, the one where they'd hidden after the Pierre, where they'd planned their survival, where they'd fallen in love without realizing it. Late in the evening, when most of the guests had gone, Alessia found Gabriel on the roof. He stood at the edge, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. She moved to stand beside him. What are you thinking about? Endings? Beginnings? The fact that 6 months ago I didn't know you existed and now I can't imagine existing without you. Sentimental. Factual. Gabriel turned to face her. I spent 10 years building an empire, accumulating power, making myself untouchable. But I was empty. I didn't realize it until you showed up and gave me something worth protecting. Alessia's hand moved to rest over his heart. You gave me something worth fighting for, a reason to stop running, to stand still and build instead of constantly looking for the next escape. Do you regret it? Everything that happened? The violence? The fear?
No, because it brought me here, to you, to this life we're building. She smiled. Besides, I'm not convinced the violence is over. Christian's in prison, but he's not dead, and men like him don't forgive. Let him try. We're ready this time. We are. Alessia pulled him close. So what's next for us? More empire building? More alliances? Something different. Gabriel's hands moved to her waist. I want to do something your father never did. Something the Romanos never even considered. What's that? Go legitimate, slowly, carefully, but actually clean. Move money into legal enterprises. Real estate, tech investments, venture capital. Keep the power, but lose the bodies. Alessia stared at him. That's ambitious. And possibly impossible. Most things worth doing are. Gabriel smiled. But I have you, and you have your father's connections. Between us, we can build something that lasts longer than we do, something our children could inherit without inheriting the blood that came with it. Children. Alessia's voice softened. You're thinking about children? I'm thinking about legacy, about what we leave behind when we're gone, about whether it's possible to take the power we've built and turn it into something that doesn't destroy the next generation. My father tried that. Look how it ended. Your father tried to have it both ways, 1 foot in the old world, 1 foot in the new. He got torn apart by the contradiction. Gabriel pulled her closer. I'm suggesting we actually choose. Make a clean break. Build the foundation now so that in 10 years we're not gangsters anymore. We're just wealthy, powerful, untouchable for reasons that don't involve murder.
Alessia was quiet for a long moment. Manhattan glittered below them. The city that had tried to kill them. The city that had made them. Okay, she said finally. Let's do it. Let's build something different, something better, something that honors the people we've lost without becoming them. Gabriel kissed her, long and slow and absolutely certain. When they pulled apart, Alessia was smiling. You know Christian's going to hate this. He's sitting in prison thinking we're running his empire, and instead we're planning to go legitimate. Good. Let him hate it. Let him spend the next 40 years watching us succeed without him. That's a better revenge than anything else we could have done. You're cruel. I'm practical. Gabriel took her hand, led her back toward the stairs. Come on. We have guests to say goodbye to, an empire to transform, a future to build. And a honeymoon to plan? Already planned. 2 weeks in Santorini. No phones, no business, just you and me and the ocean. Alessia laughed. You planned our honeymoon without asking me? I know what you like. Arrogant. Accurate. They walked down the stairs together, back to the party, back to the life they were building. And somewhere across the city, in a federal holding facility, Christian Moretti sat in a cell and plotted revenge he'd never get to execute. Because Gabriel Castile and Alessia Romano had done something Christian never could. They'd survived each other, loved each other, and chose a future that didn't require blood to sustain it. The ghost of Chicago had stopped running. She'd found her king, and together they were building an empire that would outlast them both, not through violence, not through fear, but through the simple, stubborn refusal to become the monsters the world expected them to be. And in a world built on cruelty and compromise, that refusal was the most dangerous weapon of all. Years later, when Gabriel and Alessia sat on a different rooftop watching their city sleep, Alessia would ask him if he regretted letting Christian live, if mercy had been weakness disguised as strength. Gabriel would think about that night in the cemetery, about the moment when killing would have been easy and choosing otherwise had been impossibly hard. Then he'd look at Alicia, at the woman who'd taught him that power without humanity was just another form of death, at the partner who'd made him better by refusing to let him become worse, and he'd answer the only way he could. No regrets. Not one. Because if I'd killed him, I would have proved him right. That we're all just animals pretending to be civilized. But we're not. We're something better, something worth protecting, and that's the legacy I want to leave behind. Alessia would smile, would take his hand, would look out at the city they'd conquered and transformed,
and she'd whisper the truth they'd both learned through blood and survival and the stubborn refusal to surrender. We're not monsters, Gabriel. We're survivors. And that's the most dangerous thing anyone can be. The end, but also the beginning